Hey guys, how we doing? Welcome to, I was about to say walking boxing there, talking boxing. It is Monday, September the 22nd, 2025. And as always, great to have all of you along. Looks like we've got a few people in the chat there. If you're new to the show, it is your show. You determine what direction we go. Just put your comment or question or whatever it might be into the chat, and as it says there, we'll talk some boxing, and also thank you to everyone that tunes in every week on Spotify. We've got probably about 100 people that download it on Spotify, so thank you to everyone that does that as well. Been a pretty big week in boxing since, what was it, last Tuesday? I think we caught up, and I think, was it the Wednesday? Hang on, no, it must have been, was it that day? Did we talk about Tim Tszyu sacking his team? I don't think we did. So, because the fight, it would have been the Wednesday. That's right. I was thinking the fights were on the Wednesday, but the fights were actually on the Thursday. So, Tim sacked the 5 members of his team on the Wednesday, and then, of course, the fight night on the Thursday. Didn't really like the timing of the whole thing. I'm sure everyone's going to have a comment or a question about it tonight, or opinion, whatever it might be. So I get that. I thought the timing was a little bit off, because all Glenn Jennings and Nikita and everyone, all they were asked about on the night of the fights were questions about Tim. So I thought they might have just maybe done it maybe the day after a No Limit show, because all they had to do was answer questions about that all night, which was a little bit rough and took a little bit away from Liam Paro. But anyway, all right, so let's go to the chat. As I said, we've got a few in there. I might actually bring it over here so I can see it, so I get these comments in the right order. All right, hang on. Where is the comments? No, I can't do that. All right, I can do that. All right. We'll start with Big J. All right. Where were you last week, Big J? I think you had a little bit to answer for last week. A lot of people really looking forward to having you on the show, and looks like you've got a few comments there, so I'm sure you've addressed it. But yeah, a few people not happy you weren't around last week, mate. So what do we got? Forgive my absence last week, was working out of town. Okay, well, that's fine. Still with Big J. Still think Usyk is number 1, but Crawford definitely within a millimetre second. This is the pound for pound. Yeah, it's an interesting question, that one. I would probably have Crawford number 1, Big J, but I'm certainly not going to argue about Usyk. I mean, both guys have just been fantastic. Both have had some real legacy wins in the last fight, or last couple of fights for Usyk. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe if you look at, what would you say, or who would you say out of those two have had the best sort of results in the last sort of year or so, or two? I'd still probably back Usyk, even though Crawford's beaten Spence and Canelo in that time. Usyk, with the 2 wins over Fury, was it 1 with Joshua in there as well, but also the 2 with Dubois. So, but as far as who's the better fighter, I still think I'd back Crawford, Big J. But again, not going to argue with Usyk. I think it's an Inoue thrown in there as well. I know a lot of people have Inoue at number 1. I think if you've got to come down to that, Inoue's resume is nowhere near what Crawford and Usyk is, so you probably have to have him out of that. Or is it purely just go on resume, or is it just go on the actual ability of the fighter? When the definition of best pound-for-pound fighter, who is the best fighter, not necessarily who has the best resume. So if I had to do that, I'd probably still stick with Crawford and Usyk, and then Inoue at number 3. All right, so with Big J. Also, how is Canelo not the GOAT as a Mexican fighter? Don't remember Chavez Sr. ever being undisputed. Correct me if I'm wrong. No, he was never undisputed, Big J. Look, it was a little different times back then. Just being undisputed champion back then didn't have the same, I suppose, emphasis that it does now. And other great fighters like Pernell Whitaker, and even, I don't think Oscar was undisputed. I don't think Mayweather was either. I don't even think Pacquiao was either. So I think it was just different times. I know Mayweather and Pacquiao were around when Canelo was around, but yeah, I don't think it was as big a deal back then. Yes, we had the undisputed champions. Of course, Mike Tyson was undisputed. I don't think Holyfield was he? Or was he? Back in the day, Hagler, and I don't think, I was going to say Sugar Ray Leonard wasn't undisputed, but he did win the WBA and WBC belts. We didn't have the IBF or WBO back then. So, yeah, I don't think it comes down to who was undisputed or not, Big J. But as far as both of them, I think if Canelo had a won on the weekend, I think I would have him as the number one Mexican fighter of all time. But the way he lost to Crawford, and obviously Crawford's a great fighter, but yeah, I'm at this stage I've just got Chavez Senior just in front, but Canelo will close second. Tony Clifton, how are you, Tony? What do you got there, mate? Hello to everyone. Not trying to come across as a creepy stalker. Okay. Don't normally like to start with that, Tony, but keep going. But here goes. Did you have a relation fight on the prelims of the two Liams fight last week? I noticed his surname is the same. Yeah, that was Matthew Hosking, Tony. And don't sort of get a lot of Hoskings in the boxing world, do you? So I haven't really seen many around at all. But no, mate, he's not a relative. But he goes all right. He goes all right, does Matthew Hosking, and I'm sure he'll get some big fights, mate. But no, not a relation. All right, Ryan. Where are you, Ryan? I'll be tuning. All right, I'll be tuning in tonight with one eye on the Brownlow Medal. Yes, it is on tonight. If you don't know what the Brownlow Medal is, it's the AFL Best and Fairest for the year. I've got a sneaky $20 on Motlop from Carlton. Okay, kidding, of course. Go the Blues 2026. Yes, mate. I'm not minding what they're doing at the moment. Everyone's sort of going after Carlton because they're losing so many of their good players. But sometimes you just need to shake a few things up. End of the day, mate, we can't get anywhere near the finals with them in the team. So what are we going to lose? I like it. Shake it up. And the best teams do it. And they come out in the long run better. But, yeah, don't know about Motlop winning the Brownlow, mate. But, yeah, 2026 is our year, mate. Put some money on that. Put the $20 on Carlton to win the flag next year. I wonder who does win, by the way. I'm not sure. I haven't really taken that much notice. All right, Big J. Interesting piece of footy trivia. Famous NRL coach Jake Gibson said that waiting for Cronulla to don a premiership was like leaving the porch light on from missing PM Harold Holt. Okay. I can't probably get my head around that, Big Jake, because I'm not an NRL. I've got no idea who Jake Gibson is, but I'll take your word for it. Now, Cronulla, I know, are in the preliminary finals. I think they're playing the mighty Melbourne Storm, aren't they? And it's the Broncos and the Panthers. So I don't care who we play as long as the mighty Melbourne Storm. It sounds like I'm a paid-up member, doesn't I'm not. I just, if I've got to pick a team, it's the mighty Melbourne Storm. Haven't seen a game all year, but go the Storm. All right, Big J. What's that about Cronulla? Hang on, we'll go back to your comment. We're almost back on track. Where is your... That's amusing. Okay, where is it? Oh, yeah. That's amusing as Cronulla won the title in 2016. Yeah, they beat the Storm, didn't they, I think, in that grand final. This saying now should be transferred to St Kilda. They haven't won a title since 66. Yep, good point. The same year Holt went missing. Well, there you go. Yes, I wasn't aware of that. Big day now, I sort of get a little bit a bit more. Yeah, if you're not an AFL fan, St Kilda haven't won a premiership since 1966, so nearly 60 years. And I hate to say it, but the Blues are second on the list. We haven't won a grand final since 95, which is obviously 30 years. It's going to be 31 if we win it next year, or if we have a chance to win it next year. So I think we're a long way from it, Big J. I can't believe that, when we won that premiership in 95, we'll be sitting here 30 years later and wondering where the next one's coming from, because I have no idea. All right. Still with Big J. All right, you're making up for it last week. Despite the win, there were a few concerns with the Paro performance. Okay, to get beat up by a weight-drained 154-pounder with only 5 KOs is concerning for Paro. Yeah, I did mention that, Big J, the next day on Walking Boxing. I had some worries as well. But look, the only thing I'll say about it is it was his first fight at 147. I don't think they underestimated Papo at all. It's not their style. It's not Paro or Liam Paro's and his trainers and his whole team's sort of style to underestimate anybody. I think they might have been... Well, they were definitely a little bit surprised by how good Papo was. I just think he struggled to adapt to the size and strength of Papo, and I think, yes, I was a little bit concerned that he didn't seem to have any pop in his punches. This is Liam, no power, was bullied a lot, pushed around. Papo really put it on Liam, but I mean, first of all, Liam showed a ton of heart, but I think he'll be okay. I think he'll adjust. And I wouldn't be surprised as he starts to grow into the 147-pound division. You'd probably see him get a little bit more comfortable with the division. I just don't think he was maybe prepared for that extra 7 pounds. And Paro, he was a lot better than what a lot of people thought. I did say, if you watch these videos, I had the opinion that he'd give Liam troubles, not that amount of troubles. I thought that he'd be more on his toes and slick at that amateur style. I thought he might trouble Liam. I didn't think he would hurt him and almost have him gone, but he did, and a credit to him. But I was really impressed with Liam Paro's ability to get out of it. But there are concerns, Big J, for sure. But I'm sure they will address the concerns, and they will fix it. No problems. All right. All right. So I was waiting for this one to come up about Tim. All right. Concerning Tim sacking his entire team. It had to happen, but Jennings' dismissal was a mistake. These international managers and promoters don't seem to have the knowledge or respect of the Oz market. Yeah, Big J, and again, I did comment about this the other day on Walking Boxing. I have said this in the past. I totally support Tim getting a new in-ring team. I think his cornermen probably lack the experience and everything at the international level. His uncle Igor has done a great job. They've all got the best intentions, but I was 100% behind in the right way of respectfully moving them on, which I think he has. But Glenn Jennings is the one for me, Big J. I'm sort of scratching my head about it. I know a lot of you will disagree with that out there, so it's good just get rid of the whole lot, and I get that, and I'm not going to argue that you're wrong. I'm just going to say, in my opinion, you've got a guy who has treated Tim like a son, has had his best interests at heart the whole way, set him up, or give financial advice and set him up all with the different accounts and financial management, all that sort of stuff, and made this guy a multi-millionaire. And having said that, I still don't begrudge Tim for saying, well, that's all well and good, but I think for the long-term future of my career, I need to make the call. I haven't got a problem with that. But the way I heard it was done was not good. That's just my opinion. And I won't go into all the specifics here because the people that tell me I don't want to sort of put them in it at all. But from all accounts, the way he went about letting Glenn and the team go, I just think he and the rest of the team deserved a hell of a lot better. And look, as much as Glenn has done his best to hide it all, and he's been very, poker face, I suppose you might want to call it, you can tell he's hurting. You can tell he's been really stabbed in the heart. He would also know, by the way, that this is the sport. This is the business. And this is boxing, okay? So I'm sure he's not going to go, oh, geez, poor me. But I would think that the relationship they've had together, and I've had a couple of people say, oh, well, Glenn was just after him from the word go. No, I know for a fact that it was Tim that actually approached Glenn to manage him. That's just common knowledge. I've seen the relationship firsthand. Tim in his early stages fought on my show, what was in 2018. Glenn and Tim came to Bendigo, just the two of them. I picked him up at the airport, drove him around and did all the media and all that sort of stuff. A very, very close friendship, I suppose they had. So that's probably why. And look, it takes a lot of balls from Tim, by the way, to actually do it, considering how close they were. This is, 7 years ago? So you imagine how it would be now. Glenn, I could probably see how much it would probably hurt. But I understand it's a business. I just don't like the way it's been done from what I've heard. But anyway, that's Tim's lot now, and he's made the decision. And he'll live with it. And look, he'll either live and die by it. But the one thing I'll say about Tim, though, no matter what happens, is that even if it doesn't work, I do sort of applaud him in one way, that he's had the balls to do what I didn't think he would do or could do. And we've discussed it on here numerous times. I didn't think he would be able to make the jump, and he has. So I will give him a lot of credit for that. And I don't think that no matter what happens in his career, whether he wins another world title or he doesn't, I think he'll just rest easy now and go, we know what? The pressure was on. I did it. I walked. It didn't work out, but at least now I know I maybe just wasn't good enough. Whereas if he had gone through his career, I would hate for him to have resentment towards Glenn and the rest of the team if he stuck with them and didn't achieve anything. I think, it might be hard to come back from. I think the current situation now, I've got no doubt Glenn's not the type of guy that would hold a forever grudge. I've got a feeling in 5 years' time, and I'm sure they'll talk in that time anyway, but I've got a feeling in 5-10 years' time when Tim's career's over, they'll be able to go back to being friends and amicable towards each other. Got a feeling if he hadn't have done anything and he stayed with the team, there might be a bit of resentment there. But we'll see. We'll see. All right. Ryan. All right, where are you, mate? I heard Tim's interview on some podcast. Yeah, I did see that. I can't remember the guy's name, but Tim was saying he's moving to the States on a solo mission for greatness. Fair enough, but does at least include his wife? Yeah, it does, mate. I think when he means solo, I mean solo as in him and his wife. Of course, his wife goes with him. I don't think he literally means solo there, Ryan. I think he just means that all the original team are gone and I'm going to do this one by myself with the support of my wife. And I'm sure Nikita and his mum and his friends and everyone else. So that's probably what I think he means solo. But hey, again, good on him. He's making the call. He's going to the States. And he's going to roll the dice. So good on him. As I said, at least he won't have any regrets afterwards because he's not just outed one or two of them. He's got rid of the whole lot. So, and I suppose in that regard, it's probably he's the best thing is rip the Band-Aid off. Again, you heard what I said about Glenn, but I suppose if he's thinking, well, I can't really get rid of four of them and keep Glenn, the whole lot of them are going to go. So I do give him credit for that. Still with Ryan. Big call heading there on your own. Each to their own, and I wish him the best. I'll be watching closely for sure. The next step, though, is Ryan, is where does he go now? I mean, there has been the talk that he'll try and fight by the end of the year. I don't think that's a good idea. I think if he goes to another trainer, I think any trainer worth his salt, let's just say it's a Abel Sanchez or a Robert Garcia or a Bomac, whoever, I'm sure they'd be saying to Tim, hey, mate, if you're going to come to me, there's none of this Band-Aid approach. You come to me, we spend 6 months together in the gym, and we get this right. We work out what works between us. Tim will have to probably get accustomed to being told what to do. He'd be told by those guys, hey, mate, yes, you hire me, but if I'm going to come on board, you listen to what I say or we part ways now. Those guys don't need Tim Tszyu. So that's probably one thing he's going to have is going to be on the trainer's terms, not Tim's terms. But if they were worth the salt, they'd be saying to Tim, hey, none of this 2 or 3 month bullshit. You're going to come to me. I want 6 months and then we'll get you in there. So that's what I would think. I'd be surprised if he fought by the end of the year. I get that he wants to fight, but I don't see what the rush is. What's an extra 2 or 3 months? I don't get it. You see all those, not that I like it, by the way, but you see the Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevensons and Terence Crawford's, of course. They fight when the time is right, not just fighting for the sake of fighting to keep busy. I know the money's very attractive, but they fight when they're ready to fight. And I know Tim wants to get back there, but in my opinion, he's not ready to fight. He's not ready to fight by the end of the year. He needs to chill. He needs to get over there, set himself up, relax, take a deep breath, start. I know he always keeps himself fit, by the way, but just keep the motors sort of turning over or the engines turning over, get with a new trainer, and then gradually build it up over 6 months. I mean, it could be March or April next year. I don't know what the rush is. So that's what my advice to him would be. And I reckon, as I said, any trainer that was worth anything would say that to him. You can't just click your fingers in a couple of months and make it work with any trainer, let alone those guys. So, all right, Drew. I'm okay with Tim changing his entire team except for Glenn. There you go. The one guy who was able to for better or worse, fast-track Tim's career with a frequency of opportunities most fighters dream of. Yeah, that's what what I've said all along, Drew, and I've copped a bit of flack from people about it, saying, he's useless and hasn't had Tim's best interest, but what has he done wrong? This is my thing, and I'm not going on the Glenn Jennings defense tour here, by the way, even though I respect Glenn so much. I sent him a message when it happened, and he was really good. He got back to me, and I could tell through his message he was really disappointed. I'm not just going on the defensive for him, but what has Glenn Jennings done wrong? And what has No Limit done wrong for him? And now you've got people say, the first Fundora fight, they shouldn't have taken it. But at the time, I don't think anyone really batted an eyelid about Sebastian Fundora is coming off a knockout to Brian Mendoza. Now, having said that in hindsight, when you're going from a 5'7" or 5'8" orthodox sort of fighter like Thurman, and all of a sudden you're being asked to get in there with a 6'6" southpaw. Well, okay, you could probably look at it, but I got no doubt. I've said before that they would have discussed it. Tim would have been adamant about fighting on that card, and this is T-Mobile Arena on main event, whatever. Just get it done. Now I'm sure there'll be people out there that will also say, well, that's the manager's job to say, hey, that's great, you want to fight, but as your advisor and manager, this ain't going to happen. I don't know what was said. I wasn't there. But granted, again, I said this other day that I do agree it was a bad call, and maybe they could have put up someone like a Boachuk or someone like that instead. He was on the card. He beat Brian Mendoza on the undercard. Of course, though, Fundora was the bigger name, and PBC would have wanted him as the main event, being the bigger name. Tszyu versus Boachuk on the first Amazon Prime main event on pay-per-view would not have gone down well, so I get it. But yeah, I do agree with that. But along the rest of it, what has he done wrong? Again, I've gone over this ad nauseum, but I'll quickly say it again. When Tim came off the Fundora loss with the cut head, everyone said, well, it was a headbutt, the elbow, and Tim would have slaughtered him if it wasn't for that. And look at those first 2 rounds when Tim lit him up and, had it kept going, he would have knocked Fundora out. Look what he did in the first 2 rounds. And when they got Murtazalov, I think a lot of people said, oh, geez, what a great bit of management that is. He's coming off a loss and they've got him a world title fight again. Against who's this guy, this Russian guy? Never heard of him. Tim will kill him. I don't remember. I had this conversation with a couple online. People saying about Murtazalov. Great in hindsight, but at the time, I didn't hear one person say, oh, shit, it's Murtazalov. Bad for Tim. I think everyone was saying, oh, great, fantastic to No Limit and Glenn Jennings, but getting a world title fight and his very next fight against the weakest champion in the division. So I don't know how, in hindsight, we should be knocking Glenn and No Limit in that aspect. Comes back and beats Spencer. We all thought he was going to fight Thurman, but then everyone was like, oh, wow, how good is the management here? They've got him Fundora again. And after what he did the last time, this is a cakewalk. Look what Tim did to Joey Spencer. Oh, wow. Geez, and Fundora looked pretty ordinary against Shordale Booker. Oh, wow, this is a layup. Geez, what a great bit of management by Tim's team to get him Fundora again. And judging on the first 2 rounds of the first fight, don't worry about the rest of the fight, the first 2 rounds, Tim will kill him. And then after Fundora goes out and does what he did, everyone's like, oh my God, what bad management. So that's what I don't accept. Now, if there had been a lot of people, mainly Aussie fans, by the way, I know the American fans view it differently to us. Now, a lot of Aussie fans were saying, oh, shit, oh, geez, Fundora. But I didn't hear anyone say it was a bad idea. Well, maybe a couple said, oh, it's a little bit risky. Fundora's improved a little bit. I remember thinking, actually, I thought Tim would win, but I never sort of heard anyone say bad for Tim and Fundora was going to beat him. And you would have seen me on here numerous times say, hey, don't underestimate Fundora. He would have grown from the first fight. He didn't look that bad in my book for the Booker fight. And I don't go by 2 rounds of a championship fight. I go by 12. So it was a hard one. But my only thing was I thought Tim would win, but I certainly didn't underestimate Fundora. But most people were saying, oh, how good's this? So that's why I don't think Glenn and No Limit deserve to cop the brunt of it. Because they did exactly what they were employed to do, is get Tim the best opportunities. And okay, he lost. I don't see that as bad management. Just because you go into a fight and lose, how's that bad management? That's not bad management. You get the guy 2 world title shots in 3 fights. That's not bad management. Especially when both of those fights he was supposed to win. Now, he had to come off the Murtazalov loss and they wanted to put him in with, I don't know, Canelo or someone. Oh, no, sorry, Janabek or an Ortiz. Well, that might be judged as bad management. Okay, coming up against someone like Ortiz, he's a killer, or Boachuk, who hadn't lost for against Adams by that stage. But you might have thought, oh, that might be a bit too much for Tim. But I think everyone said, Sebastian Fundora, oh, look what he did that last time he fought him. He'll kill him. Again, everyone's an expert in hindsight, but I don't think that Glenn deserves to cop it for getting him those fights. I really don't. I think he did exactly what he would have. Look, I would have done the same thing, so that would make me a bad manager as well. I would have done exactly the same thing. He's done his job. It's then on to Tim's in-ring team to work on the mistakes from the first fight. It's up to them to work on different things that he did wrong and he needs to improve. They didn't do that. That's why I'm all for the team. You're gone. Because they deserve to go. He did nothing different. Sebastian Fundora worked on things. You could tell from the first 30 seconds he worked on things with Tim and was a better fighter. Tim did nothing wrong, which is why I 100% support the team going. But why do you get rid of the guy that actually got you every single thing that you wanted? Not many other managers would have got their fighter a world title fight straight after losing a world title fight. And then after getting demolished in one fight, have a soft kill and get another world title fight. This is what they're employed to do. And again, everything's good in hindsight. But anyway, that's my little soapbox for the night. All right, Eminem, where are you, mate? I can see g'day to you. Sounds like Jai Pataya and card announcement is coming this week. Yeah, I did see that, Eminem. I did see actually, where was it the other day? I think it was one of Benavidez' team. Because it was mentioned about, was it Benavidez? Was it another team member? I'm sure it was Benavidez' team. It said they'd heard. Oh, it was a part of Benavidez' team. Said, oh, well, we'd like to fight Jai, but the word is he's going to fight Bivol next. Wow, I nearly fell off my chair and had about 10 people send it to me, of course. So, but at the moment, looks like obviously his next fight's up in Queensland against Shinkara. Should be a really, really good card, and I hope to actually get up there for it. Yeah, Big J. Yep. I saw this as well. Just heard Nikita versus Zarafa is November 29th, looking official. A couple of dates being thrown around, Big J. But yeah, it looks like there was an article just today in the Herald Sun, which I'm sure was picked up by the other sites as well, that it does look official for November, either mid to late November, and the 29th was the front runner. So it looks like it's going to happen. Who wins and why? I'll jump on my soapbox straight away and puff the chest out and pretend to be an expert. Nikita Tszyu wins that fight, in my opinion. I don't care about the experience of Zarafa. I don't care about Nikita looking a little bit shaky in some of his fights. Put him in there with a good technical fighter like Zarafa, where he's not, the unexpected is not coming at him, and he can actually do his thing without worrying about stray punches and everything coming, headbutts and everything coming at you. I think the improvement will be made. I'm backing Nikita Tszyu to beat Zarafa. That's my early call. Having said that, I've just barreled his team, haven't I? His in-ring team. So let's hope they get their shit together. But Nikita for me. Yeah. The only way I see Michael Zarafa winning this fight is by just landing one out of the blue. And I know Nikita's susceptible to it. I get it. But I think when Nikita actually has his head right and boxes properly, which he'll need to do against Zarafa, I think he wins his fight pretty comfortably. That's just my opinion. And could even stop Zarafa. And as I said, the only way I see Michael Zarafa winning the fight is by, a Hail Mary, a big right hand or a left hook, and, he catches Nikita and hurts him. But that's a danger in any fight. I think if it's a straight up fight, looking at both guys, Nikita Tszyu for me wins the fight pretty comfortably. Come at me, guys. I'm waiting for it. I'll rush through the comments so I get to. I'm sure everyone's a bit frothing at the mouth at the moment, thinking you're an idiot. Zarafa will knock him out. But I'm just looking at it for what it is. Nikita can be loose. He can be a bit unpredictable. He can be vulnerable. I didn't mind. I mean, it only went around the last time. I didn't mind what I saw as far as the composure. The big test, of course, comes when he gets into the fight and fatigued or hurt or whatever. He loses his composure. That's obviously a big asterisk there, but I just think straight up Nikita Tszyu is, he can win this fight. We will win this fight. All right, Richard M. How are you there, Richard? Barry Hearn made darts more entertaining and mainstream. It's big business now that includes a large prize money and crowds, huge TV audience, and the betting companies did the same with snooker. Well, Richard, if you watched my episode this morning of Walking Boxing, I watched all 6 episodes yesterday. All 6 episodes yesterday. I'll spit that out. Amazing. Loved it. I've always loved Eddie Hearn. I didn't know much about Barry. I knew he was obviously was his dad and had done big things. I didn't know he was still part of the scene. Didn't know that darts and snooker were such a massive part of the business. Loved it, Richard, and I implore everyone to go watch it on Netflix. And Eddie Hearn just went up in my book. I love the way he rolls. I really do. He's a winner. He doesn't take shit. He's a winner. Now, I know all those guys at that level are winners. That's why they're there. But I just love his style. I really do. I know it's not for everyone, but I love the way Eddie rolls. I really do. He has his heart on his sleeve. He doesn't make any apologies about it. Stands by his fighters, and they love him for it. And for him, I know it's all about making money off each other, but I think the fighters and him, they realise it's a partnership, but it's a close partnership, and he actually cares about his fighters as well. Loved it at the Katie Taylor-Amanda Serrano fight where he's telling Nikita, whatever his name is, to piss off and his security and where to go and stand in his ground there by himself. Didn't give a shit because he wanted to be there for his fight. I loved it. So if you haven't seen it, make sure you check it out, guys. It's called The Greatest Showman, the Matchroom story. Loved it. Fantastic. And I didn't know, Richard, that darts and snooker were that big. I had no idea. No idea. We have darts and pool at our pub, and the people that play it love it. I didn't know they had full-on events, that are like a fight night, really. Crazy. The ring walks and all that sort of stuff. Loved it. So I'm going to actually check out darts. I wouldn't mind doing something like that at my pub. I've got a pretty big function room there, the KO Lounge. I wonder if I could just do a darts tournament or something there. It'd be pretty cool. But, yeah, loved it. And Barry Hearn, yeah, you can see where Eddie gets it from. He's a winner too. All right, Drew. Do you think Tim's path, which I give him enormous credit for, will provide both a blueprint and cautionary tale for how Nikita, who is arguably less talented, will be brought along? Yeah, maybe there, Drew. Maybe. Yep. And I do think he needs to be careful. But look, I don't know. The proof will be in the pudding. It will. Yeah, he needs to work on some things. And you're right. He's not as talented as Tim is, but don't know. I think it provides a blueprint to a certain level, Drew. I think at the moment where Nikita is, I think he would see the team as being the best team for him. Now, he might get to the world stage, and if he beats Michael Zarafa, he'll be there, of course. He'll be world ranked in all the organisations. That's probably when he needs to make the call, but again, I don't think he will. Until you actually lose fights, why would you change your team? Doesn't make much sense. So I think until Nikita actually loses a fight, he might go, yeah, right, what, Tim, you were right. Or we might stick with him, who knows? But I definitely think he needs to talk to Tim and maybe say, what is, and Nikita would know. Nikita's not an idiot. I know he plays the clown, I get that. But he's an intelligent boxing guy. He's been around the sport all his life. He knows. And he's been opinionated on Tim in his fights as well. So I think he would have had some talks with Tim, and he would see with his own eyes. And I think he's made the call that, no, that's fine. Tim, we've had talks about this. Tim wants to go. No, I'm stick with this because I think they can still get me where I want to get to. As I said, Nikita's not an idiot. So he would know exactly maybe where the team have fallen down with Tim, and he still backed them to help him get to where he gets to. So, yes, it's a blueprint and a cautionary tale, but obviously he's made the call to stick with him, and good on him. All right. All right, what do we got there? Sorry, I've rushed past some comments there. Sorry, guys, I'll just go back a bit. All right, here we go. I gave him $1. Is it legal to change colour of your beard in between rounds? That was funny, wasn't it? If you didn't see it, he had a beard like mine. Actually, it was grey, a little bit shorter, but it was grey. And Liam's yellow gloves, obviously being brand new, have sort of started to leak, or whatever you might want to call it, bleed during the fight, and it's turned his beard yellow. It was pretty funny. I think he turned his trunks yellow and everything, didn't he? But it was pretty funny. He had the yellow beard. It should be illegal. I gave him $1. You're changing your identity, aren't you? All right, Ado. Did you manage to see the Colasso-Vason fight yesterday? Great fight while it lasted. What an unexpected stoppage. Colasso stocks rising. I did see it, Ado, and he's a very, very good fighter, Colasso. And it was unexpected. You don't sort of see a lot of stoppages at that level. But, yeah, it definitely is rising, Ado, and it was a good day of fights too, I thought. And we had I didn't even mention it at all either. We had Kay Scott fought for the, 2 belts, I think, was it light heavyweight or middleweight, whatever it was. I think it was light heavyweight, and it was a draw. The girl she fought, I can't believe it was a draw. I thought when the fight started, I thought this is just easy. I know a lot of people saying Kay Scott won, and I probably agree with that. But geez, I can't believe it was even that close. I thought in the first couple of rounds, just Kay Scott's going to win every round here, and she was tough. The other girl was it Olivia Curry, I think that was her name, or I think it was Olivia Curry. Good fight, tough fight. She was tough as nails, but I think Kay Scott made the fight a lot harder than what it needed to be. I don't think she needed to punch with her. or slug with her. She's needed to box her, and that's probably the reason why it ended up being a draw. But yeah, some good fights over the weekend. Eminem, I just don't get the Nikita and Zerafa fight. Both at very different stages, and Zerafa keeps claiming he's knocking on the door of another world title. Go chase that then. I'm with you, Eminem. This is why I think I've said all along I didn't think the fight would happen. But here we are. It's got to be a money thing, Eminem. And maybe Michael Zerafa sees this fight as an easy sort of touch to keep busy, get a good payday. It's not really going to do anything for his rankings because Nikita, I know he is ranked, but at 154, so it's not really going to help Michael. I think through the eyes of both guys, you would think that Michael Zerafa would look at Nikita and go, well, nothing's really on the plate for me at the moment. No Limit have obviously promised him a lot, but there's nothing on the go just yet, obviously, because he's considering this fight. And he probably thinks, oh, well, I'll just knock Nikita out, take home the $500,000 payday or whatever it's going to be, and happy days, all good. Nothing gained, nothing lost. We'll just keep moving on. Nikita, on the other hand, his management are probably looking at, well, they obviously see something that a lot of people out there don't. They obviously back their man. And as I said, I think he wins, and obviously his team thinks he wins because they're thinking, oh, well, we're going to roll the dice and risk it all with our man. He's only had, 11 or 12 fights. And he's world rated now, so he's on the move or the charge towards a world title shot, and they're going to risk it all against Michael Zerafa. So they obviously back themselves. And I reckon that's what they're doing. Well, not only do we really have an opportunity to see what Nikita's got, he's going to get well paid. No Limit win out of it as well. They get a nice little payday, so they're going to push the fight. One of them will be right, one of them will be wrong. But for Michael Zerafa, though, Eminem, it doesn't make any sense at all, except for the fact that there's nothing else. There's literally nothing else there for him. Obviously, the Lara fight's not going to happen. Adames looks like he's going to fight Janabek, so all the titles, all the belts are in. Well, Lara's not in play, but he's not going to fight Zerafa again, as I said. So if it's Janabek and Adames, well, they're going to fight early next year. So there's really literally nothing for Michael Zerafa at the moment, which is probably, again, why he's taken the fight. But as far as his ranking and everything goes, it does nothing. So that's the only reason I can think of, Eminem, is that if it is true with Janabek and Adames, Zerafa's thought, oh, well, I'll just make a quick payday and get something over the Tszyu family, but could also come crashing down very quickly too, because if Nikita beats him, it's career over for Michael Zerafa, if it's not already. I'm worried Zerafa is too soon for Nikita. Not me, Eminem. Nah, not me. And I know, running the risk of upsetting Michael, he tends to get a little bit precious when you say anything negative about him, but I don't think it's too soon. I really don't. I think Michael has fought some good guys, but he hasn't beaten any good guys, bar Jeff Horn, and full credit to him for that. I've always, thought that it was a great performance from Michael, but I think Jeff Horn coming from welterweight up to middleweight and still struggling to make weight showed that he didn't really prepare and then got the job done in the second fight. But again, good on Michael and credit to him. Apart from that, I haven't really seen much Eminem. I'm sorry, I just haven't seen anything from Michael Zerafa that makes me think it's too soon for Nikita. I'm just being honest. Okay, Isaac Harbin. Isaac wasn't world class either. That was probably his biggest win. Don't even put Anthony Mundine in the conversation. So that's why I'm not in the same camp, Eminem, that it's too soon for Nikita. Michael's a seasoned fighter, I get it, but he hasn't won a big fight. At least not since Jeff Horn anyway, 6 years ago. So I don't see why it's a big step for Nikita Tszyu. Michael's talented. He is probably the best. Well, he is the best fighter that Nikita's fought. I'll agree with that. But is he too soon for Nikita? I don't think so. Eminem, Gabby Fundora. Yeah, I meant to mention her. Could quite possibly be my favourite women's fighter. Very entertaining. I like her too, Eminem. She's such a down-to-earth person as well. I really like Gabby Fundora. And both of those, Fundora, Sebastian and Gabby, you can see very well raised, very, very close. They'll do anything for the fans. And I think a lot of both of them, Eminem, and you're right, she can fight and very entertaining. All right, Tony, I'd love to see Mick belt Nikita. Jeez, Tony, been a fan for years, looking forward to seeing this happen. Yeah, I'm sort of looking forward to it as well, Tony. Any big fight in Australia it's got two big names, 100%. Is it Am I counting down the days? Probably not, but it's a good fight for Australia. That's probably the main thing. And I think with No Limit, they've had a pretty tough year, or pretty tough couple of years. Haven't had a lot of success with the name fighters, and this may be a chance for them to have a win and earn some good coin, because it will be big. Make no mistake of that. The event itself will be massive, and the news media will be all over it. It'll be massive. So good on both the boys, Mick and Nikita. They'll both make a lot of money out of it. Give the fight fans here in Australia something that they want. Not Tim versus Michael, but it is what it is. Not so much. So I'd like to see Mick belt Nikita. I'm not sure if it's probably in the comments later. Why would you like to see him belt Nikita? Why would you like to see Mick belt Nikita, Tony? Just let us know. I actually think Nikita's pretty likable. So anyway, I'm sure you got your reasons. Tom's dad, Naz, young Oscar Colasso, looked good the other day. He did, mate. The opponent's name was Jason Vason. I did say that. Is it pronounced that way, though? Jason Vason? Yeah, I suppose it is, yeah. Poor bastard's parents should be jailed for that, yep. Was there a footy player a few years ago? His name was Donald McDonald. How could you name your son Donald McDonald? I don't know. Yeah, Richard, yeah, Usyk cleaned out 2 divisions. Yeah, I'm with you there. Crawford cleaned out a few divisions too, though, mate. He's been all right. What's that? Big J, my first comment didn't appear, but I said bring on the hagglers, as I'm still eating the egg off my face. I got it wrong, as I said in my Aussie Boxing Talk videos. Yeah, well, I did defend you last week, Big J. They all came for you. And I did say, I didn't watch all your video, but I did see the first bit of it where you said about the egg on your face. And, hey, that's all you can do is admit you're wrong, Big J, and you did it. So it's pretty hard to keep going at somebody when they say, hey, I was wrong. And I'll just wipe the egg off my face. What I would have liked, Big J, though, is get the egg and just smash it on your head. I saw a Carlton guy do that on one of the Carlton YouTube videos. And same thing. He had egg on his face. Well, he took a full 12-pack of eggs and cracked every single one of his head as the episode went on. And he was just dripping in egg. So next time, Big J, I want to see that from you. All right. Ryan, pound for pound has to be the best fighter. If you're ducking guys, well, that's different. You can only fight who's in front of you and those that are willing. Yeah, I'm with you there, mate. I agree. And this is probably where the argument is Usyk or Crawford or Inoue the best fighter? That's probably the question. And I still think, for me, Crawford is the best fighter overall. Usyk second, Inoue third. Yeah, yep, Shadow Boxer, yep, you're giving it to her, right? All right, Asbot. I can't fault Tim's decision. He needs fresh advice and fresh eyes and new ideas. The same people who are critics of this were bagging out his team before. Yeah, that's what I said before, Asbot. Yeah, as I've said this 10 times now. Same thing. I just think Glenn and his team have done everything they were employed to do, and it was Tim who couldn't deliver in the ring. So, what's that, Richard? Canberra Raiders sadly choked. Okay, because I think they finished on top, didn't they, Richard? Yeah. Same as Adelaide Crows in the AFL, mate. They finished on top, lost both the finals, out in straight sets, just like Canberra Raiders. So there you go. And they copped it as well, the Adelaide Crows. Naz, Sweet Poison looked great. Hopefully she goes up for some big... Is that her nickname? Is it Sweet Poison? I didn't know that. Hopefully she goes up for some big fights at 118 against Neeks or Dina Thorslund if she comes back. Well, it looks like... I think Dina Thorslund has been calling out Neeks, Naz. Is Gabriela Fondora... I thought she was light fly. What's 118? 118 is bantamweight, so she's super fly. For some reason, I thought she was light fly. Be a good fight. I think she beats Neeks, with all due respects to Neeks. Dina Thorslund and her would be a good fight if that was the case. Be a really good fight. I think Dina Thorslund, she deserves to get a crack at Neeks. I'm not sure where they're all at with negotiations and everything, but Dina Thorslund gave up her belts to fight, so that Neeks could fight the last lady she fought. So wouldn't you have thought that, yeah, she's back now? I think she had a baby or something, didn't she? Give her a shot. She deserves a shot and should get a shot at Neeks. Drew, the Canberra Raiders are now officially the Canberra Faders. There you go. Adam, totally agree with your take on Canelo. We will remember the good years of Canelo, just like I only remember Roy Jones Jr.'s good years when thinking of his greatness. That's the way to look at it, Adam. I know. Look, I'm sure Glenn's is either in there now or will be later about Canelo. I'm sure Canelo sucks, as he'll probably say. I'm with you. You got to look at him in their best years. And look, Roy Jones Jr. I don't think we think anything less of Roy Jones because he was knocked out numerous times later in his career. And I think the same with Canelo. Look, I give Canelo props for taking on Crawford in the first place. I don't think he wanted the fight, but obviously the money played a massive factor in it. But he was just like, oh, well, I'll take the fight. I can't believe they're all now coming at Crawford because, and he hasn't even said he doesn't want to fight him yet, but David Benavidez. I've seen stories, Crawford, his win against Canelo is suddenly hollow because he won't fight Benavidez. Look, Bomac was asked straight after the fight about it. He said, I'm not interested in that. Why would he be? Crawford's had to eat his way up to 168, and you got a guy that comes down from 200 pounds. Why would you want to fight him for? Doesn't make sense. He's the champion. He's won the belts, and all of a sudden he's been challenged by the media and fans because he won't fight a 175-pounder? Come on, that's just ridiculous. I want to see Benavidez fight the Bivols and Better Beeves and Opetayas before we start patting him on the back. Calls himself the Mexican monster and this and that. Hey, mate, let's see you in against Bivol and Better Beeve and Opetaya and see what you've got, instead of challenging a guy that's come up from 147/154. Yeah, but remember the good years, Adam, that's for sure, mate, because he's been one of the greats over the journey. He really has. All right, Naz. Zarafa did an interview with a non-boxing guy called TJ during the week. Whole new perspective on Michael when he's not in front of a boxing audience. I really enjoyed it. I didn't see that, Naz, but I might look it up. The Netflix special on Matchroom was really good. You were bang on. I'm an Eddie fan too. He's very entertaining. I just like the way he rolls, Ryan. I really do. He's such a charismatic guy. As I said before, you like him or not, you got to respect the guy. He's a winner. And I loved his comment at the end of it about global domination. It's like, yeah, global domination. I don't want to be just known as Barry Hearn's son at sort of this level. I want to be seen as Eddie Hearn at that level. And I love it. Eminem, Janabek unifying against Adam Adames would be huge for 160. Yeah, I love that fight, Eminem. Really, really good fight. Not sure where Lara sort of falls into the scheme of things at the moment. Haven't really heard much about him since he beat Garcia. So, and I suppose Janabek's the same. He had that fight in not Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, didn't he? So, yeah, it would be a great fight. And that whole card, even though it's just the two main events, Janabek and Adames and Teofimo Stevenson and Shakur Stevenson, what a card that would be. I think they're talking about January, February. That would be awesome. Who wins that, by the way? I'm still going to back my man, Janabek. I love Janabek. All right, Drew. I really don't think Nikita will fight Zarafa next, despite what people might think. Firstly, I don't think Nikita's team will match Nikita with Michael yet. And secondly, the beef is forced. Well, yeah, there's no doubt the beef is forced, Drew, because I think Nikita's just sort of shrugging his shoulders like, what's all the fuss about? You know, he can't sort of get his head around the whole thing, and he's just that kind of guy. Even when they tried to sort of rev it up on the fights last week, and he drew the dick on the paper. I thought that was a pisser. Yeah, I don't know, Drew. I don't know. Well, it looks like the fight's going to happen for starters, but yeah, I don't know what about his team. Yeah, I think they'll back him. I think they'll back Nikita to beat Michael Zarafa. Again, I'll say it. I just don't see what we can look at Michael Zarafa and say, oh, that's a really bad fight, because all the fights we've seen in the last couple, they've all just been absolute spuds. He's not the only one, by the way, but I haven't seen Michael beat anyone of remote note, anyone remotely resembling a world-class fighter in the last probably 5 years, 6 years, probably longer. Since Jeff Horn, I just haven't seen it. So that's what I'm basing it on. We're all basing this on Michael's, and he's a killer. He's very dangerous against the guys that he's been in with, the ones that he's been matched with. So, and he's done the job, what he's supposed to do, and he's a good finisher and gets them out of there. But name a fighter anywhere near world class that Michael's beaten since he beat Jeff Horn. None. So that's why I'm saying I think Nikita wins. I'm picturing them in there together, and I just think Nikita will win. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm certainly not on the Nikita Tszyu bandwagon. I'm just saying, if you put them together, I think Nikita Tszyu wins that fight. I just don't see... I'm just trying to look at the arguments for Michael Zarafa why he beats Nikita, because he hasn't beaten anyone of note for however long. So that's just my argument. He's looked very good against these guys that they put him in with, and he's obliterated them as he should. But I know Lara's a lot bit, higher on the totem pole than what Nikita is. Obviously, he's about 100 times higher, but that's the only half-decent guy. Well, he's a lot more than half-decent, of course. He's a world champion, but the only real guy of note that Michael's faced in 6 years, and he got obliterated in 2 rounds. So what are we basing this on? Blowing out club fighters? Not even club fighters. And I think all those fighters that Michael Zarafa stopped, I think Nikita blows them out as well. So, I mean, that's where the argument's coming from. Tony, Tim comes across as a pretty level-headed fella. There must be a valid reason for punting Jennings. Only those in the clique really know what happened. Good on Tim for having the courage to do it. Yeah, that's what I said, Tony. Yeah, as I said, I don't like the way he went about it, but if he's made that call, then good luck to him. Good luck. And he's a very level-headed guy. Obviously, he's getting advice from other sources as well. I'm not sure who, because he's just sacked all the people that he's in a circle. But again, if he's decided to go down this track, good on him. And at least, no matter what happens, he will at least have a peace of mind that he's done what he wants to do, and whether it works out or not, at least he's had the courage to do it. And Tony's got balls that clank, I reckon, for doing it. AI, what weight would the Zarafa Nikita fight even be at? Zarafa's campaigned at middleweight for ages. I think it'll be a catch weight, AI. So you got, I think it might be like 157 or something like that, I reckon. Maybe 158, but I definitely think it'll be, say, a kilo, which is 2-3 pounds under middleweight. And Michael, I think, can make the weight. I think he said in the past that if really need be, he could. So what's 160, 154? I reckon 157 or even 158 would be the mark, AI. But Nikita will make Michael lose at least 2 pounds, you would think. So, and as I said, I don't think it'll be a big thing for Michael Zarafa. What have we got? What's that? Motorsport. Tim mentioned on an interview he's moving to America solo. What about his wife? Yeah, no, that's what I think, Motorsport. I think it's, when he says solo, he means him and his wife going over there. Hello, Drunken Boxing. How are you? All right, Julian. After Tim's loss to Murtazaliev, Tim was clearly distressed in front of the media. Glenn Jennings did nothing to protect him from the Sharks. Yeah, I can't argue with that, Julian. Yep, I can't argue with that. You're right, 100% right. And that wasn't great from Glenn. But you're going to, while I do agree with it, is that sort of, cancelling out getting him the opportunity in the first place? I don't know. I was staggered by that, Julian. I thought that when that happened, I thought, geez, the last thing to do would be to roll him out in front of the media. I know Tim wanted to do it, and I know the TV networks would have been saying, hey, this is part of your thing. You've got to get out there. I would have thought that, Glenn would have said, no, I don't care what the contract says. He's not going out there. He's got to go to the hospital. So, yep, no, you're right, Julian. Naz, I can't believe how biased you were against poor old Paro the other night. Exactly the same amount of bias as the judges. Just joking. I don't know how you put up with the Muppets in the chat. Yeah, geez, if you weren't part of the chat, geez, all I was doing was commentating the fight. And I had all the supporters out there that were non-Australians coming at me for being biased. I was trying not to be biased, Naz. I was just calling it the way I've seen it. It doesn't get to me at all, mate. I've done enough of those watch-alongs to know that I think we had 500 or 600 people watching at one stage and nearly 5,000 watched the whole thing. That you get a lot of people that aren't necessarily your subscribers and your viewers. And I had someone the other day actually on one of my videos say I was extremely biased about something as well. I mean, okay, whatever. You're going to interpret it the way you're going to interpret it. But I don't know how I was biased, Naz. All I was doing was calling the fight. And just because their guy wasn't winning, all of a sudden I was biased. So anyway, you're right though, mate. You do get some Muppets, but you got to expect it when you do these watch-alongs, because all the fans out there, of course, they're all Googling and in YouTube about live streams and all this sort of stuff. And of course, mine comes up. And that's why I always say, hey, guys, it's not a live stream. It's a watch-along. And if you got, let's face it, if you've got a brain in your head that sort of half works even at 50% capacity, you know that you're not going to be able to get on YouTube and watch the fight. You might find illegal streams and all that sort of stuff. You're not going to get on YouTube and have someone showing the fight. So that's probably the first thing. Lots of watch-alongs out. I'm not sure if anyone did the watch-along of that, as I'm sure someone else did. But all those big fights, there's always someone. I've done it myself, where I've watched someone watching the fight. But yeah, as I said, if you get on YouTube, do you really expect someone's going to be on there and show you the fight? Come on. But it doesn't get to me, Naz. I just roll with the punches. It did sort of at the start, but if you put yourself out there with opinion, especially in a very passionate sport like boxing, if you put yourself out there with opinions and all this sort of stuff, you're going to be a target. So, all right, I gave him $1. I agree with this. Even if Tim wanted to front the media in that state, they should have got him out of there. Yeah, no, I agree. As I said, mate, I think they should have just said, I don't care what the TV networks wants. He's not going out there. End of story. And then put him out the back and send him off to hospital. So I agree with that 100%. Eminem, good to see the Flamingo back. Yes, albeit a fizzer, but he did say he wants to be back again in November. I loved it, Eminem. That ring entrance, I think, has got to be nearly the best I've ever seen in boxing. It really is. The way, the song, the way he dances, the whole get-up, it is amazing. That's probably why I think he's going to be attractive to some overseas promoters as far as getting him over to the States. I remember the first time I seen him was probably about 7 years ago, and Gage Island was an Australian lightweight champion, and Brian Butler was his trainer, and I'm really good friends with Brian, and of course you know the story of us going over to the States with the twins and everything. I've told that story 20 times. And he rang me and said, oh, mate, look, because I said I might go up for the fight, wouldn't mind going up and see him defend it against Jacob NG. He says, oh, mate, would you come up? If I'll get you in the corner. So I was in the corner with Brian and Gage that night, and I'd never seen Jacob NG before. And we got in the ring first, and, you're doing your thing, I'm waiting for him to come out. And when that music started and he come out and started dancing, I nearly fell over and laughed. I thought it was the best thing ever. No, when I say laughter, I don't mean in a disrespecting way. I just mean like, are you kidding me? This guy's coming out. I thought it was the best thing ever. And then he absolutely pulverized Gage. I think he stopped him in 3 or 4 rounds. But just a great character. And he's got the personality to back it up, Eminem. I really like it. And that's why I think someone like him, there'll be promoters overseas that go, hey, we want this guy. And even more so, No Limit, saying this is the type of guy we need to get behind. Because he could be a pay-per-view attraction. Make no mistake about it. And the way I like it too, because when he talks, he's not an idiot. Like it's not a really forced sort of act. He's naturally charismatic. Obviously, he's got the persona with the flamingo. I think if you didn't know why they call him Flamingo as well, I think it was an opponent or a gym mate or something said his legs were so skinny they looked like flamingo's legs, and that's why he got the nickname. But a real character, Eminem, and he can fight. It's a shame that we didn't see much of him the other night, but yeah, he can fight, and I'm glad he's back, and he can do some damage, whether it's at 154 or he goes back to 147 or even 140, who knows, but we'll see. Why was he away for so long after the Dib fight? Don't know, Ado. I think he had a few mental challenges, I suppose. Wasn't quite sure where he was sort of going. I don't know why he would have been distressed about that fight. I mean, he got disqualified. I don't think it really hurt him much. I'm not sure whether I think it was just a disqualification. I think he got banned or fined, I think. He just struggled to get back, Ado. It was a loss, but I don't think it was a career altering loss. It was like, I think most people, including me, thought, mate, that was a stupid thing to do. Why would you do that? You're winning the fight. That was my thoughts. I certainly didn't think anything less of him as far as his talent and what he could do. It was like, mate, you've just thrown that fight away. Why did you do that for? And I would have thought he'd be straight back, but he was out for 3 years. But all that aside, Ado, great to see him back. So that's all that matters. All right, Big J, just let me get a water here. All right, Big J. I'll be interested to see Costa's thoughts regarding Tim sacking Glenn. Well, I was thinking that myself the other day, Big J. We haven't really heard anything from Costa. I'm surprised that no one's rang him for an interview or anything. I would think that Costa would say to Tim, if you think it's the right thing to do, then do it. That's what I would think he would say. I know Costa wasn't happy with the way it all went down with the Fundora, the first fight, the second fight with Murtazalov, and all that sort of stuff. I don't think he'd be happy with the whole thing. But I think when it comes to this, I just think he would leave it to Tim. Because don't forget, Glenn or Igor and Dr. Bill and all, they were all around for Costa. He didn't get rid of him, so he was obviously very happy with the job they did. So I would think he would just say, Tim, hey, I don't know all the circumstances behind it, but if you think it's the right thing to do, then you have my blessing. That's what I think Costa would say. So I reckon after the Murtazalyov loss in Orlando, that maybe Costa just probably learned that he just needs to step back and let Tim just be his own man, because he draws a lot of attention, Costa Tszyu. He's a big presence, a big personality. So Big J, maybe Costa might put his foot up Tim's ass. We never know, Big J. A lot of the, and you see it even in the documentary with the Matchroom one, you saw it with the Bens, Nigel and Connor. You know, they're in the background, but they also have a lot of influence. Even Chris Eubank's dad, a lot of influence. So I tell you who was good in that documentary, I never really known much about him, was Johnny Fisher's dad, Big John. Was it Bosch? Whatever he says, and then he says Bosch. That was pretty cool. He's a personality, that guy. He's a personality. Has anyone heard from Joey Spencer since the TT fight? Probably not AI. I doubt it. I think he'll go back to the club circuit, mate. Waiting for another paycheck, I would say, as the opponent. And he's a good personality, and you need those guys in the sport. He knew what he was there for. He knew he probably didn't really legitimately have a chance against him, but he was specifically picked for being someone that was notable. He had a sort of semi-name, I suppose, but not a dangerous type of guy. So whoever picked him out as the opponent did a great job. Maybe it was the management. It wasn't that bad for him, was it, to pick him? Just got something. Hang on a sec here. What's going on there? That's for my browser. Just hang on a sec there, guys. One sec. The battery. All right. All right, we're back. All right, sorry about that, guys. I'm just looking at the battery, because I unplugged it the other night to do the watch along in the lounge room. And I just happened to catch out the corner of my eye there. The battery thing up the front was on red, very, very low. And I thought, hang on a sec. That's because it's always plugged in. So I just looked down there, and yeah, the cord hasn't been plugged in. So we got to about 5%. So hopefully we hang in there. We should be right. It's plugged in now. So apologies about that. Anyway, let's move on. All right. Adam, people forget too that Fundora was coming off a KO loss when he fought Tim the first time. He was. Mendoza knocked him out. Yep. Fundora is full of confidence now, and you can see it when he fights. Different fighter, Adam. 100% a different fighter. You're right there, mate. When he came out for the first round against Tim, I thought, shit, this is a completely different Gabriela Fundora. Good one, Lynden. Sebastian Fundora. Yeah, I'm with you there, mate. And it happens when you're a champion. When you've got that belt around your waist, you automatically become a 20% better fighter, maybe even more. We even saw it with Tim. I know it was probably a bad thing to fight, the whole Fundora thing, but they just change. The aura changes, the confidence changes, and he's a lot better fighter than what he was the first time when he fought Tim. What's that? To be fair, T Street was very cautious concerning the Barkroom fight. Okay. I'll get through these comments here, guys, because by the sounds of that one, Big J, I'm way behind. All right, Drew, just a personal opinion. I have absolutely no interest in Ben versus Eubank 2. We already had a definitive winner. Neither guy will win a legitimate world title, and we have done the father narrative. Yeah, I'm with you, Drew. Look, I'm not against seeing the fight, and again, I said the other day, I'm not really fussed about it, and I'm not. But look, it's a fight. It's a grudge fight. It should be another war. But is the result different? I doubt it. You never know, though, with Eubank, though, Drew, because he could turn up next time and not fire a shot. He's that type of fighter. And I suppose that's probably the only sort of thing you look at with the fight, is that Ben could win the fight. Eubank won the first fight clearly, but you don't know what Chris Eubank's going to turn up. I don't think we'll have as many fireworks and spite that we had the first fight. They might try and manufacture it again. Whether they can produce that again, I don't know. But yeah, I'm with you, mate. I haven't got a lot of interest in it, but I'll watch it. All right. What's that? PVT AC. I'm going to call you ACC there. If TKO boxing were to happen, how would the top fighters at the super/light divisions fare if they had to fight at welterweight or middleweight and so on? Yeah, well, if you didn't know, looks like all the divisions will be the traditional divisions, which I welcome. ACC, I'll call you. I'm just going to call you mate. How's that sound? Yeah, who knows? One thing we shouldn't have, though, well, I was just going to say we shouldn't have the big weight cuts, but we probably will, to more extent, won't we? Because they're going to have to find it. If you're sort of stuck in the middle somewhere, they're either going to have to go up or down. But yeah, look, I do welcome that part of it there. I think I don't mind it. It depends on who the fighters are there. ACC. Yeah, it depends who they are. I'm sure it won't be a big drama. The lighter weight division shouldn't be a problem because there's only 3 or 4 pounds between the divisions. As they go up to sort of, well, what is it, from 140 to 147 to 54 to 60, 68 to 75 and upwards, that might be an issue, especially if you're going from 160 to 175 and 175 to, I'm assuming they've cut out cruiserweight and gone straight to heavyweight. Look, like the old days, mate, it just depends on who the fighter is and whether they're good enough, I suppose. I don't mind that, though, with the TKO boxing, though. Choose a weight. None of this in-between stuff. Like the old days, pick a weight. That's one thing I do welcome. Adam, people forget the Fundora was... Oh, hang on. Yep, I've just got past that one. Ryan, Lyndon's call was so biased. The live chat went rogue that night. It did, didn't it? Were you in there too, Ryan? It's like trying to say, guys, relax. I'm not being biased, but they all pile on. I get it all the time with the overseas guys, and it's always the Filipinos. They're such beautiful people, the Filipinos, but when they get in the chat, they're the ones that come at us. Hey, I'm sorry that Manny got ripped off supposedly against Jeff Horn, all right? It's not my fault. I didn't judge the fight. But the Filipinos always get stuck into me. And by the way, Jeff Horn still won that fight. I'll stick by that. Tim Tszyu trained with the Mayweathers. Yeah, I don't know, Richard. They're a different type of gym, the Mayweathers. They train them a different way. Yeah, I don't know whether their style would suit Tim Tszyu. And the way they teach as well, they all teach the Mayweather sort of shell defense and the way they train all their fighters to get the same way together. I'm not sure whether Tim, at 30 years of age, is going to be able to sort of change that way. So, look, I don't know. Who knows? You might even go to the gym we're at, Split T, with Eric over there. He survived the chop. He's always in Tim's corner over there. He didn't get the boot, that I know of anyway. So maybe he might go and train under him. I don't think so. I think he'll go for a big name, but. I don't know about the Mayweathers, Richard. It's just a different vibe in there. It really is. It's more of a gym for the African Americans. It's just that set up, and that's okay. It's a cultural type of gym, and you get that. You get the Mexican gyms, and as well as the African American gyms, and so that there's nothing wrong, as I said. But yeah, I'm not sure whether Tim would fit into that environment. They're trainers too. They're just nice guys, but I don't know. I don't think I'd be trusting them. What's that motorsport? Is Tim let go No Limit? Go really keep Glenn and No... Is it? Got to really keep Glenn and No Limit. Well, they haven't let No Limit go Motorsport, and they won't because he's contracted to them, I think, for another year or two, I think it is. So there's no way he's going to get rid of No Limit because unlike Glenn, they will probably sue his ass, I would probably think. Glenn has let him go. Glenn had 2 years to go in his contract, by the way, with Tim. So he could quite easily sue Tim. I would hope that wouldn't happen. I don't think Glenn's the type of guy that would do that, but there's 2 years left run on the contract. No Limit, I think, might be 1 or 2, I think. So there's no way No Limit are going to let the cash cow walk away. So he will be with them until it's time not to be with them, I suppose. Frankie, I think Nikita would win by KO. That's over Zarafa. It's good. Good to see I'm not alone there, Frankie. Eminem hopes Nikita wins by KO. Julian says Nikita needs at least a tune-up fight before Zarafa. Yeah, I probably agree with that, Julian. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing him have one more. He's had, 1 round in a year. Although Michael Zarafa hasn't had much more either, has he? He's had, what did he have? The Tommy Brown fight, which was 1 round. He had the last fight, which was 1 round. Was his one before that? How long ago in that one? Was it 6 or something? So at least he's had a few rounds. Yeah, I'm with you, Julian. I wouldn't have minded seeing Nikita have 1 more fight towards the end of the year. But they obviously think he can win, so they're gonna do it now. Richard says Nikita is very loose at times, and Zarafa wants that. He does, but is Michael Zarafa good enough to make him pay, Richard? You would probably think so, because lesser fighters than Michael have tagged Nikita and had him hurt. And as I said before, make no mistake, if Zarafa can actually tag him and hurt him, Zarafa is a very, very good finisher. Very good finisher. He gets you hurt, the odds are you're out of there, so I'll give him full credit for that. But I've just got the feeling that Michael is that traditional. He's a good fighter, but he's a very stand-up, technically correct type of fighter. He's not that loose guy like some of the other guys that Nikita's fought with arms and that coming at you from all angles, and he gets caught being a bit loose. I think Michael is more of that traditional technical type of style, which will suit Nikita. And I know that doesn't make sense because he's been tagged by lesser lights and hurt. Zarafa is a better fighter than all the ones he's fought so far, but I just think he matches up better against him than those guys. Not unpredictable. Does everything the way it's supposed to be done, does Michael. And I think that helps Nikita. After the Paro fight, I couldn't help but think that was the Matias fight, one of those fights that a lot of... Hang on. Excuse me. But think, if that was the Matias fight, one of those fights that a lot of fighters have, where they have an in-the-zone Mount Everest performance, or was it an off-night? Okay, I sort of get what you're saying there, Drew. Yeah, and you could make the argument, like George Kambosos against Teofimo Lopez, it was just a once-in-a-career fight, and maybe their opposition underestimated them, but that's not their fault. They turn up ready to go. It's not their fault if Matias or Kambosos or Pacquiao, whoever it might be, have turned up not really right to go. That's their problem. But maybe I think Liam is a good chance to beat who was it? Lewis Crocker. Yeah, I think he's a good chance to. Well, I won't say good chance, but an okay chance to beat Lewis Crocker. The other champions, I reckon he could beat Rolly Romero. Might even be able to beat Mario Barrios, and the only one he can't beat is Brian Norman Jr. And then the contenders, well, Devin Haney. I would stay away from Manny Pacquiao. I don't think he will fight Liam, but time will tell, Drew. I know George wasn't able to replicate the win over Teofimo Lopez, and let's see if Liam can do it. Let's give him an opportunity. I think, who knows? Who knows? Depends on who he fights, but we'll see in the long run. What's up? Hey, Lynden, love your passion about boxing. Thanks, mate. Where's the follow-up question there? Is there one there? No? Okay. I'm sure it'll come up there. You said you was thinking. What were you thinking about Lights Out? Richard, Cole Mazzutia fighting this week. He is. We'll have a quick look at that card. It's on the Wanderers promotion. Where is it? Mazzutia. Hope I've spelt that right. All right. What is it? S-O-G. Okay. He's very religious, Cohen. All right. All right. So the event is fighting Jorge Capin this week. Who else is on that card? I think it's a pretty good card from memory. It is... So we've got Jessica Messina, Arlene Bianco, is it? For the Australian welterweight title. Cohen will fight Capin for the Australian super welterweight title. Who else is on there that I know? Not familiar with any of those other fighters on there, but there is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 fights on the card. So if you're up that way, I think is it Sydney? Bella Vista Hotel. Okay, so go and check it out and support what looks like a really good night of boxing. Now, it's on Triller TV. Now, fill me in, guys. Where do I watch that? Is it an app? Is it a streaming service? What is it? So I wouldn't mind checking it out. Yes, Eminem, Schofield and Jojo Diaz on the Ortiz Lubin card. Yep, I saw that. That'll be a good fight too. Although Diaz is probably on the downside a little bit, isn't he? But I'm sure he'll give Schofield a good fight as well. All right, Drew, who retires first, Crawford or Canelo, outside a possible rematch? Strangely enough, Crawford doesn't have too many big, huge options in victory as what Canelo now has in defeat. Yeah, and I said that the other day too, Drew. In my opinion, Terence Crawford, well, I did initially say he had one alternative. That's pretty much the Canelo fight as the big money fight for him. I know he said he only wants to be in it for another 1 or 2 fights. Canelo is probably worth $75 to $100 million for him, so obviously that makes sense. But does Turki Al-Sheikh want to actually make the fight? I didn't think there was anyone else out there for him. I put a line straight through the light heavyweights. That's just silly if you ask me. And even if Benavides says he wants to come back to 168, just bad news for Crawford. Doesn't make sense for him to fight him. But going back to 160 and fighting Adames does, although Adames is, of course, fighting Janibek. So maybe what he could do is let Janibek and Adames fight and then fight the winner maybe mid-next year. That is probably the best fight for Terence Crawford if he doesn't hit Canelo. And you're right, though, with Canelo, all of a sudden he's got so many options. I think he's ranked number 1 by all the organisations, isn't he, now at super middle? Where is he? So he is 1 with the WBC. Let's see how... they probably haven't been updated, so probably a bit early. Who retires first? Gee, that's a good question. I think Crawford still retires first. I think Canelo's still got another 2 or 3 years left in him. All right, Glenn, we've been waiting for you, mate. Evening all. Has anyone seen or heard from Batman? I'm concerned for his well-being after the Canelo fight. Yes, he wasn't in the chat last week, Glenn. I'm sure he's in there. I'm way behind him in the chat here. But, yeah, he been very inconspicuous, Glenn. I've been waiting for you to have your say. And well-deserved, by the way, because right along you were adamant that Crawford would beat Canelo. Butsy, how do you see the Thurman-Fundora fight going? Very, very hard one to pick, Mutsy. Initially, I would say Sebastian Fundora at first thought. But Thurman's a tricky guy. He's a very, very tricky guy. Obviously, he's got all the runs on the board. And I was about to say he's just been way too inactive to trouble Fundora. But look what Crawford just did. He's had 1 fight a year for the last 3 or 4 years, Crawford. And he did the job. And going up in weight as well. Look, I'm going to stick with Fundora on points. But I wouldn't be surprised if Thurman got the job done. On his night, very good fighter. But we just haven't seen enough of him. He had 1 fight in 3 years, whatever it's been. I'm going to stick with Sebastian Fundora. I think he's improved a lot, and I think he can beat Thurman. Thurman will give Fundora a very, very good fight, though. But again, I'm just not sure how much Thurman's got left. So, yep, Sebastian Fundora for me on points. Glenn says, I'm intrigued by that fight. Prime Thurman was very good, but Fundora has improved out of sight. Good fight, yeah. And the thing is, Thurman's not a big puncher, so I can't see a repeat of the Mendoza fight happening. I'm just not sure how Thurman gets inside against Sebastian Fundora without being able to punch. So, look, anything can happen. Again, wouldn't be surprised at all, but I'm going to stick with the active fighter in Fundora and the natural 154-pounder. Drew, Batman sent his bat signal over my unit to let me know he's still drinking with Canelo at the post-fight wake. Yeah, good call there, Drew. Jeez, he was pretty adamant though, wasn't he, Drew? Was Batman? What's that? K. Scott. Oh, yeah, K. Scott fought to a draw for WBC. I think it was WB, was it A as well, Naz, I think? The girls are killing it for Oz. There they are. Yeah. Having said, the only thing I'll say about it though, Naz, I'm not sure whether that fight, but it probably goes to show the lack of depth at that weight because both girls, I think, were coming off losses. I think Curry might have had a draw and a loss, and K. Scott coming off a loss after having 5 fights in her career. And I'm not sure how many Curry had. But look, all that aside, apart from showing how shallow the divisions are higher up, you're right. K. Scott went over there and had done a great job. Unlucky. I thought she did win the fight, by the way. But the girls are killing it, mate. So we've got Neeks, we've got Sky, we've got sort of Ebony, I suppose. We've got Shannon, we've got Kay. Doing great. Of course, Desi Robinson and Shay Keneally as well, doing awesome things. And especially Desi Robinson, who's now signed with MVP, doing awesome things. So you got to wonder if Sky Nicholson actually leaves Eddie to go to MVP. I wonder what will happen there without going into all the rumours and innuendo and all that sort of stuff. Is she got it in her to make the call to go to MVP, which is just ruling female boxing at the moment. We will see. Wonder how long. Well, wonder if Gabriel Fundora makes the move as well. I think she'd be pretty loyal to Oscar, but we'll see. Glenn, I told Batman Canelo couldn't defend a jab. I'm putting a compilation video together of the 10,000 jabs he ate. He did, mate. He did. Drunken box, seeing the price of eggs. Yep. The Fundoras have another little sister. I didn't know that. 94 Zol. She can throw them too. No doubt we'll see her in the future. Yeah. Well, she obviously got boxing in her blood there, mate. I still think Bud goes down to 160. I personally think a Janibek, Adames, or Lara are a harder style for Bud than Canelo was. Yeah, I'm with you there, Naz. Janibek, I think he'd handle okay because, I mean, Janibek fights a lot like Triple G. Yeah, I think Bud could outbox him, although he at 160 he's a big guy, Janabek. Adames, I think Bud would handle. Lara would be tricky, but you're right. All three of them could possibly be harder for Bud than Canelo was. Just Canelo had the absolute classic style for Bud. And I know it's great in hindsight. I must admit, thinking, why did I even doubt Bud? I'm sure a lot of you out there were thinking the same. How did I ever think that Canelo could ever win this fight? And even though in the end I tipped Crawford, I don't know why, because all along it was Canelo. And I still don't know how we did it. Well, we did it. We all saw that. But, yeah, how can we even doubt Crawford, that Canelo could get the job done? Hang on, we've got a super chat. Here we go. $2. Thank you very much, Matt. I still think Bud goes down. Oh, no, that was the hang on. There it is. $2. Thanks, mate. Crazy when a fighter loses, they are suddenly bad. I'm with you, Matt. Yep. And they've got to sack their coaches and team and all that sort of stuff. But thanks again for the super chat, mate. Really appreciate it. Now I need to get back on track here. Where are we? Almost there. All right. All right, Tony. I'll tell you why I'd like Mick to belt Nikita or Tim. Mick got crucified when the fight with Tim didn't happen. The hate he copped was beyond the pale. To see him belt either of them would be outstanding. Yeah, no, you're right, mate. He did cop it. Not so much. Well, Nikita obviously didn't have anything to say. And I just remember Tim was dirty about it. I think all he's really said, though, is he'd never give Michael another opportunity, which he's sort of stuck by. I think it's more the fans got stuck in the mick. And I thought it was a little bit unjustified too, Tony, because even to this day, he does cop it as far as he ran and all the rest of it. Michael Zarafa didn't run from Tim Tszyu. He would have wanted that fight right or wrong. He just got bad advice, as he's admitted. And it just happened to play out that way. So, but you're right, he did get crucified, and the hate was real. It was. Yep. He hasn't done himself a lot of favours, though, Tony. That's the only thing I'll say, mate. He hasn't done himself a lot of favours by trying to endear himself to the fans. I do like the fact that now he's like, you know what? No matter what I do, you're going to hate me, so let's go. I'm just going to say what I want and do what I want, and let's go. Hang on, we've got another super chat there from Matt. $5. Thanks, mate. You don't have to pay for the comments, but I appreciate it. I'll get to you. Did you watch Paro? Yes, I did. Paro needs to put his hands up. Dude is going to get slept big time against anyone who can throw a punch properly. I was concerned, Matt, that he got tagged pretty easily, and when he did get tagged, he was rocked. Papo, obviously not being a big puncher, didn't have the ability to get him out of there. But I do worry, based on that, whether he's going to be able to go with the big dogs at 147. We'll see. Let's just, as I said earlier in the show, just let him have another crack at it. Let his body get used to being a 147 pounder. I know by all accounts he made the weight really easy, so maybe you can start sort of putting on a little bit of muscle, doing a lot more strength and conditioning sort of work. First fight there, I think we've got to give him a bit of an out, I reckon. Where are we? What's that, Glenn? My mum's a harder style than Canelo. Now, Glenn, come on. You won. Everyone's got to pay homage to you, but go easy on our man, will you? Yeah, drunken boxing. Yep, Adelaide and the Raiders out. Straight sets, gone. Polly the farmer. How are you, Polly? I've seen some footage of the youngest Fundora. She's about 8 and already looks okay. The dad has a farm with a personal gym, and those Fundoras sure love boxing. They certainly. Is she a string bean too, Polly? Let me know. Where are we? Shadow Boxer. How do guys like Zarafa live off being a boxer? He's known to us, but does he make enough to live day to day? Don't know, mate. Well, he's earned a couple of big paydays. He'd have some sponsors, I think, Shadow Boxer. I think who would be, I don't know, the money they'd be on, but you find a lot of these guys have very generous sponsors. They don't probably get a lot out of it, but they do it to help guys out like Zarafa. So I'm sure he'd be okay. He's probably had a couple of good paydays, hasn't he? Although he's got to give up a fair bit of it with taxes and to his team and all that sort of stuff. I'm not sure, but I reckon it'll be mainly sponsorship, Shadow Boxer. And I really hope Michael and Nikita and all these guys get great paydays. They deserve it. They literally give up their entire life for the sport and our entertainment. So, as much as they get, good luck to them. J Beebs. I think combat sports fans are the most fickle fans compared to all other sports. They can be, mate. They can be for sure. Look, the thing is, what I always get a little bit out of joint or out of whack, J Beebs, is because I don't know a lot of you do as well, but I mean, having been in the sport and having done it myself, I know the sacrifice and hard training and danger they're all in all the time, but just what's involved in the lead up. And I was only at amateur level. These guys that are pros, and then you get these guys. I know we all joke about it, with the Dorito stained singlets and all that, sitting on the couch and all that sort of stuff. That's what I don't like. Footy's a bit different because I know they train hard, but it's a team game, and it is a game. Remember, it's a game. So everyone's got an opinion, whether it be, rugby or football or AFL or soccer, whatever it might be. So it's a little bit different. In boxing, it's not a game. This is guys who are literally putting their lives at risk, and the way they train and what they put their bodies through. You don't see that in football or any other sport. The duress they put their bodies under to make weight, and the training, and then obviously getting hit. And they fight to the death, most of them. That's why I can't cop the fickle fans. In certain aspects I can. I mean, someone says, "Oh, geez, I probably should have used the jab a bit more," or "These are footwork's a little bit ordinary and needs to work." I can get that. I can cop that. But when they say, like the Tim Tszyu situation, "Oh, he's a quitter. He quit. He's got no heart. He's a coward." Don't tell me that when you've never been in the ring and never been through what he's been through. They're the ones I get a little bit pissed at. Okay, by all means, you don't have to be a boxer or have done boxing. You could be a boxing follower, and you might look at it and go, "Yeah, no, he really needs to work on his slipping his punches." Well, yeah, no drama, but don't tell me someone's a coward or got no heart or whatever. That's the only time I get a bit pissed. But I'm with you, mate. They can be very fickle. All right, Drew. People are forgetting that Canelo held the belts hostage from Benavidez for 2.5 years, as Canelo's mandatory while claiming to be the champion of the division. Bud being champ for 2 seconds. Yeah, I can't argue with that, Drew. He did. Even though I can understand why Canelo didn't fight Benavidez, you're right. If he didn't want to fight him, just give up the belt. That's all he had to do. If he didn't want to fight for Benavidez for whatever reasons, whether it been disrespectful or whatever, I think we all know he was as dangerous, but if he had said, "I'm not fighting him because he's a mouthpiece and he's insulting me," or whatever, then that's okay. Give up the WBC belt. So can't argue with that, Drew. Ryan, Nikita wins against a Rafa. Stoppage. Geez, I didn't think I'd have much support in these, in my opinions, but we'll see. Exactly. That's my issue with Canelo. He also tried to age out Triple G and avoid Andrade, who would have given him issues. Yeah, I agree with Triple G, Glenn. I'm not so sure about Andrade. I think Canelo would have beat him, no problems. And you're right, though. Being the champion doesn't give you the right to fight who you like. No, it doesn't. That's why we have ratings and the sanctioning bodies to oversee the ratings and enforce mandatories. And the WBC didn't have the balls to strip him. And why would they? They're a Mexican organisation, not going to strip their main man, who they make millions and millions of dollars out of in sanctioning fees. But I'm with you there, mate. And I lost a lot of respect for the WBC because of that. And also the Charlo situation as well. He was champion. I think, didn't he not fight for 2 years or something? I don't know. Ado, I'd bet the mortgage on Nikita knocking out Zarafa. It wouldn't be the mortgage on Zarafa being silent afterwards, though. Yeah, well, again, I'm surprised I'm getting so much support for saying Nikita would beat Zarafa. I thought people would be saying that he's Michael Zarafa all the way. What's that? I saw the trailer for From the Fields to the Garden. Okay, a documentary on Stitch Duran's life from a farm worker to where he's now. Can't wait for that one. Wow, there you go. I wasn't aware of that, Naz. I didn't know there was a documentary coming on Stitch Duran, and he is one of the good guys. He really is. I've spoken to him numerous times when I've been overseas, and literally, whether it be me or you or anyone, will just go up and say g'day. He will stop and give you all the time in the world. He'll tell you all the stories of his time in boxing, in UFC, in the movies. I remember sitting down with him, I think it was when Jason fought Astrolabrio in Stockton. And we're at the hotel, sitting around afterwards. Everyone's having something to eat and a drink, and he's telling stories about in the UFC and what happened with that. If you don't remember that, he was ousted. I can't remember exactly what happened. That's how well I was listening. But it was all the controversy with the UFC, the Rocky, not Rocky movies, the Creed movies, telling all the stories about that. And of course, his time in boxing as well. And just a great, great guy. He really is. All right, Eminem. Once Yanabek collects all the belts at 160, I want to see Bud go down and fight Yanabek for a 4th undisputed. Yeah, me too, Eminem. Remember, I won a Talking Boxing shirt in January for that matchup. Suggestion, here we are, maybe. Yeah, I need to get a bit more merchandise, don't I? I haven't got it here, but I've got my new hat you would have seen when I'm doing walking boxing. And I've got a couple of T-shirts on order as well. So I might order an extra one and we'll give it away because they're pretty cool shirts. But you did. I remember that, Eminem. That was a great fight. Where are we? Hang on, we'll go through here. All right. Might be a hot take, but Paro very overrated. I saw Matias fight before Paro and thought he was incredibly limited. Yeah, we just rose on to the occasion that night. Is it JP? We'll see, mate. We'll see. Look, again, his performance last week wasn't great, but let's just give him the benefit of the doubt that first fight at 147, he can come back. But what I saw, I'll be honest, I don't think he troubles the guys at 147. We'll see. Yeah, stuns me. People still think you're allowed to show the fights. Yep. All right, so where you're coming from with Tim's sacking Glenn, but it was Glenn's responsibility not to fight someone 6'7", and was stupidly in itself also Grush fighting Liam again after getting dropped. Yep, no, it's a good call, OG. Yep. All right, Flash. Hey, Lynden, I'm from the 80s and early 90s, and being from Lismore, I remember a bloke by the name of Justin Rousel from Casino. I think that's a spelling, but did you ever meet him or know him as a boxer? Oh, I never met him, Flash, but I know him very, very well. He's from my era, actually just before my era. So he went to the Olympics in 92. He went to the Commonwealth Games in 90. He was part of that great amateur team of Justin Crawford, Robbie Peden, Rick Tempiri, Jamie Nicholson, Stephen Scriggins, Spike Sheeny. I think Spikes might have been a bit before that, but he was part of that era. And a very, very good amateur fighter, Flash. Didn't probably quite go that far in the pros, even though it was with Johnny Lewis. And you remember he got stopped by Ricky Hatton back in the day. The Cowboy, very, very good fighter, Flash. And I remember back in the, I think I've told this story before, back in 1989, my brother went to the Worlds in Puerto Rico, the World Junior titles in Puerto Rico with Justin Rousel and Jamie Nicholson and a couple of others. And Justin Rousel actually fought Shane Mosley there and got stopped by Shane Mosley at the 1989 Worlds in Puerto Rico. And I think he learned a lot out of that, Flash. But a fantastic fighter in Australian boxing, mate. One of the best we've produced. Make no mistake about that. But no, I never met him. Matt, you don't have to keep giving me money, but I'll take it. I'll get to you. There could be Papo, just overlooked prospect. I don't know. Yeah, well, he hadn't fought anyone though, Matt. He hadn't fought anybody, and I looked at him on YouTube and just didn't see anything there that. Well, I thought he might trouble Liam as far as just being on his toes and slick with his hands and his feet and everything else. But I never thought he'd come close to actually troubling Liam as far as winning the fight. And really, he should have almost won it in the end, shouldn't he? There's Andy. How are you, mate? Thanks for the $10. Really appreciate it, mate. They might not be so popular, but Yanabek, Adamas, and Lara should have done undisputed. Yep, I'm with you there, Andy. And who knows, we might actually get that happening down the track. All right, I'll get my way back to these comments. All right, in the first round, should have stayed away from Liam. Grutch is just starting his career. This is Brendan Grush. The Bull. Yep, I wasn't blown away by Paro's performance. I love the guts he had to push through with his eyes slowly closing, plenty of heart. Well, that's the one that he did show, Drunken Boxing. A ton of heart. I thought he was gone. And that punch would have bloody hurt because it wasn't a headbutt or an it was a punch to hit him right on the head. And that eye just popped out straight away. And I thought, geez, especially because he was a southpaw, or both southpaws, but Liam being a southpaw, that right hand, that lead hand was a little bit down. And his right eye was swollen up, and Papo was just coming over the top with those left hands. So, yeah, it showed a ton of heart. And again, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and just give him a bit of a mulligan, I suppose. I mean, he was a tough guy, Papo, and maybe he was better than what we all thought he was. But Liam got through, and he can move on to the next one. Oh, there you go. Glenn spoke to Justin last night. We are very good mates. He's going really well. That's good, Glenn. As I said, I never met him, but he was a gunfighter back in the day. Bob Arum is still going strong and always enjoy his no-filter opinions. Well, he's at the stage of his life, Richard, where he doesn't need to give a shit. That's what I like about Bob. You ask him a question, he's like, yeah, I'll give you the honest answer. I don't need to do anything anymore or impress anyone or be politically correct. I'll just say whatever they want, and I love it. I love Bob too, Richard. I'm surprised they haven't done a Netflix special on him. Obviously, the one we've been talking about is the Matchroom one with Barry Hearn and Eddie Hearn. We've seen it with Vince McMahon in the WWE. We've seen it with Jerry Jones in the NFL with the Dallas Cowboys. I can't believe they haven't done one with Bob Arum while he's still with us to do a Netflix special on him. He deserves it. He is the one that they should have done one on first, Bob Arum. Been in it for over 50 years and promoted some of the biggest fights in history. And what he's built, his legacy, he deserves a Netflix special as well, or someone else to do a special on him. What's that, mate? What's the deal with the hype thing on YouTube? I've been giving all my points to this channel each day, but no idea what it does. I got no idea, Naz. The hype thing, I'm not sure. Giving all my points to this channel each day, but no idea what it does. I got no idea. I've never heard of that, Naz. I appreciate you giving me all your, what is it? Hype. Is that what you do? I don't know anything about it, mate. But thank you. Thank you for giving me all your points. All right. Card. Who is rumoured to be on the Jai card? Ben Mahoney, Hooney. I'd say so, Eminem. I'd say it'll be the usual suspects. Benny Mahoney, Hooney, maybe Max McIntyre as well. They'll be on the card. Canelo. Actually, the other thing is, and I don't know anything about this, I haven't spoken to him, but Jason Maloney is now apparently signed with Tasman Fighters as well. So will he be on the card? Don't know. I did know, but I didn't know anyone else knew. And someone messaged me the other day. Said, oh, geez, what do you think of Jason signing with Tasman? I went, oh, how'd you find out? So, oh, no, I saw it on social media somewhere. Well, there you go. So maybe Jason will be on the card. All right, Canelo. Sorry, what's that? Canelo Benavides might as well book it in. Would love to finally see it. I don't think it's going to happen in Rome. I don't think it will. Yeah, Max McIntyre. Yep, Danny Keating. I really like Danny Keating. That'd be a quick turnaround. Well, mate, he only fought about 30 seconds, so I'm sure he'll be fine, Naz. I'm sure he'll be able to get his head around it. He'll be fine. I would love to see Danny Keating on that card. Was he 11-0 now? He can fight. He's a good fighter. I know we didn't see anything last week, but I don't mind Danny Keating. I'm surprised though he fought on a No Limit show. I know it's sort of ace boxing as well. He's a Tasman Fighters fighter. Yeah, anyway, maybe they're all starting to get along. You think Eubank wins again? I'm thinking Ben wins a rematch, a gut feeling. Yeah, maybe drunken boxing. I wouldn't mind seeing Ben win, if I'm being honest. I was all for Eubank in the first fight, but I just having seen Conor Ben in the documentary, I've got a little bit of appreciation for the guy and a bit of a disdain for Chris Eubank Jr. I think he's a peanut. So I'm going to go for Nigel. I keep calling him Nigel. Conor Ben this time. I went for Eubank in the first fight. This time I'm on Team Ben. What's that? 275. Okay, I like those odds. Big J. Johnny Fisher did a video with Sky Nicholson about the succulent Chinese meal bloke about a year ago. It was hilarious. Is that right? He actually just passed away recently, didn't he? The guy who was in that ad. That was a pisser. Well, it wasn't an ad, was it? It was a real-life video of a guy getting arrested. You say a Chinese meal, a succulent Chinese meal. All right, Drew. A little bit of change of subject here. Who would you pick as a winner if Aaron Pryor had fought Leonard as it was campaigned for back in the day? Good question, Drew. I'm going to stick with my man, Sugar Ray. That would have been a great fight. Aaron Pryor would have given him all he could handle. And Aaron Pryor actually had the style to really trouble Leonard, but I'm going to go with Leonard. Being a little bit bigger man, pretty fast on his feet and with his hands. I think maybe Leonard in a close decision, that one. Yeah, I'm sticking to my guns, mate. Don't worry about that. Harry1561. Tim would suit training with Robert Garcia. He's a similar style to Mikey Garcia. Wouldn't rule it out, Harry. I mean, I love Robert Garcia, but he does tend to stick mainly with the Hispanic fighters. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. It's like the Mayweather stick with the African-American fighters. Not sure. We'll see. But he could do a lot worse than Robert Garcia, mate. He really could. He's a great coach, Robert Garcia. Yeah, Glenn, he'd be my pick if I lined them all up. I'd definitely probably go for Abel Sanchez. There's so many great trainers out there at the moment, but it's got to be the right fit for Tim Tszyu. Can't just say, oh, well, we'll go with, say, I don't know, a Bomac. Yeah, but does his style really suit Tim Tszyu? Got to remember, we're not starting from absolute scratch here. We've got a 30-year-old who's been pretty much set in his way for all his life and his career. You can't just change it all up. So he needs someone. That's why Abel Sanchez I like, because obviously he did so much with Triple G. Tim fights a little similar to Triple G, I suppose. So it would probably make sense that Abel Sanchez could step straight in and really make some good alterations to Tim. Robert Garcia, yeah, maybe, but the Mayweathers and Bomac and those types of guys, yeah, I'm not sure. Derek James is another really good trainer as well. I don't think he's been mentioned. Plenty of good guys out there. All right, Kid Manila. All right, Tim Tszyu boxing career is done. Okay, well, yep. Drunken Boxing, where's Tim headed? USA. Yeah, you can bet your house on that, Drunken. I know some people have said, oh, why not go to the UK and go into Andy Lee or a McGuigan or one of those types of guys? Nah, he's not. He doesn't want to go to the UK. He wants to go to the USA. He's an American man, and that's where he'll go. Might have some news, by the way, on a certain young kid that I've been away with recently about the USA. Keep an eye on that. I can't say too much. All right, in a massive side indoors moment, had Tim beaten Fundora the first time. There were murmurs of Bud versus Tim. Yes, there was, Drew. Could have, should have, would have. Do you think the fight would have happened? Yeah, no. Well, Bud said he wanted that fight, Drew. He wanted that fight. So Bud was going to fight, was it in August, I think he fought, wasn't he? So that fight with Tim and Fundora was the end of March. So it would have 100% made sense. So I got no doubt if Tim had have beaten Fundora in that first fight, it would 100% have been Bud Crawford. Well, I better not say 100. 99%, it would have been Bud Crawford versus Tim on that card, the Riyadh season card in LA. Yep, 100% it would have been. And I know Tim was supposed to be on that, the cut against. I'm really sort of glad the Ortiz fight didn't happen, although he did fight Murtazalov instead, didn't he? So, all right. What are we? Jeez, it's gone quick again. What's that? Kid Manila. Shout out Blacktown to my Filipinos. All right, Kid Manila. Well, just be nice, okay? Your countrymen have been a little bit mean to me recently. Met Nikita at the boxing last week. He's a different dude. That type of guy is always a difficult fight, says Harry. Yep, I'm with you there, mate. He's a different dude, but he's a good guy. Watch the highlights of the most recent Inoue fight. It was a wonderful display from him against a very skilled heavy hitter. Yeah, it was a good performance, and it sort of went under the radar a little bit. Drunken Boxing, didn't it, because of the Canelo and Crawford fight. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, make sure you watch it, guys. Very good performance from Inoue. And what's he fighting in December against Picasso, isn't he? December 27th with Nakatani on the undercard. What's that? I believe John Real Casameo would have beat Inoue 5 years ago. Inoue is a tailor-made for Casemiro. Yeah, don't tend to agree with you there, Kid Manila, but that's fine. Yep, Philippine. Philippine man in the house. As I said, just be gentle, Kid Manila. Let's not forget Amir Khan was beating Canelo for 7 rounds. Khan won a B fighter. Kid Manila, I was actually at that fight. I know everyone watched it, but I remember I was in the arena that night. Canelo just played with him for 6 rounds. It was not 7 rounds, by the way. It was 6 rounds. Canelo barely threw a punch for 5 rounds. He let just Khan get a little bit comfortable and have a little bit of success. And as soon as he got a little bit complacent, boom, one right hand, all over. It's a championship fight, Kid Manila. Let's not get carried away with the fact that Amir went okay for 5 rounds, okay? That's why it's a 12-round fight. Good fighters like Canelo and Mayweather and these types of guys, they set you up. They put the traps in there, and then they get the job done. So, yeah, you're right. He probably won three, if not 4 of the first 5 rounds, but that's why it's a championship fight. It's 12 rounds, and Canelo got the job done in the 6th. What kind of boxing memorability do you have? Not a lot. J Beebs, what do you got? Signed gloves from Jones Jr., Kodo, Bud, Pac, Marquez, AJ, and Chocolito. Thank you. eBay. Yeah, mate, I don't have much. I have, the only things I sort of have, I've got a Anthony Mundine. We had him for a sports night, so I got a signed glove from him and a photo we took from the night. Same as Costa Tszyu, a signed pair of gloves. We had him for a sports night in Bendigo. That's probably about it. The only really things I like are my own boxing memorabilia, JB. So I haven't done it for the last couple of years because I don't no more room, but these posters here, what I've done is most of those big fights I was at early with these gloves here. So I've got the poster, the gloves, the ticket, The poker chip. Some of them had limited edition poker chips, or with Floyd Money, Mayweather had like Monopoly money they'd made, special edition money of Money Mayweather. So all the little bits and pieces I could find, I'd get frames. I've got probably about 15 or 16 pieces that I've got, but they're all sort of in my office or gym or whatever. So they're the only real memorabilia I have. My best piece that I've probably got is this poster up here, Sloan. I think it's Richard Sloan. Yeah, Richard Sloan. He does the posters. There was 3 different ones they brought out for Canelo and Mayweather. So I actually had all 3 posters all together in one big frame. I had the glove, I had a poker chip, had my ticket, and there might have been something. It might have been a photo that we took there as well, all in this whopping big frame. It's massive, and that's probably my best piece. But yeah, they're the things that mean more to me. I don't really get into merchandise or memorabilia, mate. It doesn't really do much for me. Unless it's something personal to me, I don't get too stressed about it. So I love those guys you mentioned there, but having a signed autograph or something signed by Bud or Pac, it's not really my thing, but I understand it's big business. But I think memorabilia has got to be more a personal type of thing for you. Where do we go there? Thurman, retired Jarvis. Okay, all right. Now, Kid Manila, you got to be nice here, mate. If you're going to stay in the chat, you got to play nice. 94 years old says, I pick Fundora in that fight too. I think we'll see an even further improvement by him in that fight. I reckon he will fight longer and longer using his reach. Yeah, I think he has to do pretty much what he did against Tim, 94. He just has to, basically what he does against all his opponents. He has to stay long, keep the jabs out. The work rate has to be high, and that's his secret. And he used it to great effect against Tim. It's not just the reach. He stays busy and he doesn't throw them all with power, but he keeps punching constantly. So you've always got something to try and get past. It's a great game plan. Because I think he learned from Mendoza that if you just let a guy inside, he's going to be vulnerable. He's going to be vulnerable to big punches, especially guys that come at him from underneath or from angles. Tim, of course, was just going in a straight line, which made it easy. But that's his secret. It's not just the long arms. It's the volume of punches he throws. And it's not even the power. It's just literally just having something in your face and you're always trying to get out the way of him. So he's got his style down pat. Thurman's got very good boxing IQ. So if anyone could do it, he could. But I'm still going to stick with Fundora. Paul Camilleri, how are you, Paul? I think Thurman will turn circles around Fundora, but still not sure if it will be enough. Really looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too, Paul. I think it'll be a great fight. When can we expect to see Cooper O'Connell back in action? Well, he was supposed to fight last week, Eminem, and they just couldn't get him an opponent, unfortunately. But as I said before, just keep a lookout for some news coming with Cooper. Some pretty big news, so I'll keep you in the loop. It's amazing how Tszyu, the dad face was open. All right, mate, come on. All right, I'll let you guys. What's that? I donate a supply of Vegemite. Okay, Kid Manila. Right. Drew. All right. I'll let all you guys discuss boxing with Kid Manila in the chat. We've got to get through these comments. Of course, I'm biased, but I was horrified to see the documentary When We Were Kings at number 2 in a favourite sports documentary list behind The Last Dance. It was a doco that had it all. Yeah, I must admit, Drew, I've never actually seen The Last Dance. I know it's probably the most popular one they've had. I'm with you, though, mate. I love When We Were Kings. That is a brilliant, brilliant documentary. It really is. But again, I mean, we are a little bit biased. We're boxing men, aren't we? But The Last Dance, my son loves it. He's a basketball tragic. So, but for me, I'm with you there, mate. When We Were Kings should be number 1. All right, Matt, his eyes properly screwed, I reckon. Sorry, mate, who are you talking about there? Oh, is that Liam, is it? Don't know, mate. Don't know. I think what it did, mate, it got him on the top of the eyelid up here. And if you get hit there, believe me, it'll swell. I think he'll be, I'm not sure if it's Liam Paro you're talking about. I don't think it's life-threatening, mate. Or, sorry, life-altering. Different, like with the cut over the eye, that's different. If it's just swollen, it wasn't his orbital bone. The orbital bone's sort of normally around this part of the eye, sort of here. And being at the top, you can get sometimes a depressed fracture there, but it sort of comes from a headbutt or a knee or something. They are well, I'm going to say it's common in football. Not really common, but I've seen it happen numerous times at the top of the eye. They'll fracture it or to get a depressed fracture there. But if it's where he got hit, mate, I think he just got hit right on the eyelid there with the punch, and it's made it swell. I think he'll be okay, but we'll see. They didn't seem too concerned about it afterwards. Eminem C. Cambosa said he isn't done, and he's apparently in discussion to fight Richard Comey. I did see that, Eminem. I did see Richard's comments and Cambosa's as well. Not a bad fight for George. I don't mind it. And look, it wasn't like he was, it wasn't like he was bashed by Hitchens. Maybe he was, but if he's matched properly, I think he's still got some fights in him. I think at that absolute top level he's done, but there's no reason why he can't fight guys like Richard Comey. They can keep fighting until, another 2 or 3 years, earn some coin. You're a long time retired, so I don't mind that fight. As long as George, if he wins it, doesn't get grand visions of getting back to world title fights, because I think that's well and truly past him. Yep, I'm with you, Glenn. Every boxing fan should watch When We Were Kings. Matt, by the way, I'm an American now living in New Zealand. Glad to be on this side of the globe now. Good stuff, Matt. What are you doing in New Zealand, though? I shouldn't say that. All you had to do was a 3-hour detour to Australia, and you've gone to New Zealand. What's the go with that? Nah, we love our New Zealand cousins over there. It's glad to have you in this part of the world, Matt. Just let us know, why'd you leave America for? I'd like to know. Hang on, what do you got here? Just got my New Zealand passport. Plan to visit Sydney with my wife next summer. Do it, Matt. And good call going to Sydney. If you're going to come and see what Australia's about, go to Sydney or Brisbane. Stay right away from Melbourne. Okay, I'm from Melbourne, and it is an absolute shithole. And if you come down here, you better be armed, okay? Because there's all sorts of people running around with machetes and everything else around. So just don't come to Melbourne. Go to Sydney or Brisbane. You'll love it. Where are we? Hang on, Kid Manila. I'll let you guys talk to Kid Manila. What have we got? About 8 or 9 minutes to go. I remember watching it the first time, and I felt privileged just watching it. Brilliant, yeah, it was. What an era that was. This is the Kings I'm talking about. Just amazing. When We Were Kings. Isn't there a Fennec movie in the works as well? Yeah, there is. Apparently they've started casting people. Naz, I'm not quite sure who's playing Jeff. She's going to have to be cast right, isn't it? I mean, because, look, I'm guilty of when I see, whether it be a movie or a documentary, whatever, or documentary not so much, but definitely a movie, I'm very tough on the lead actors who are doing the fighting. And I know most people that just want to see the story couldn't give a toss about how the fight choreography looks. That's what I go by, and that's how I judge a movie. So I'm hoping the person they get can at least look a little bit like Jeff Fenech. Fighting-wise, I mean. I remember Rose Against the Odds. I remember the guys they had in that were pretty good. And I actually, Damien Membry, who's head of the Hall of Fame, he played Alan Rudkin and did a really good job. And the guy they had playing Lionel Rose, he did really good as well. So they need to get it down pat. Someone that's not just an okay actor. They need someone that can bring to life what Jeff Fenech was. And this is why it's going to be a challenge. Jeff Fenech is a really strong personality, as we've all seen. And I hope they get that right. So we will see. Same thing with the Sylvester Stallone, was it I Am Rocky, the movie coming out about how Rocky was conceived and made. But it's the same guy who played Al Pacino in The Offer, which was about the making of The Godfather. So I remember him, and he was pretty good. So I'm sure, and he does look a lot like Sylvester Stallone. So they just have to get that right, Naz. But by all accounts, it's in, it's full steam ahead. So yeah, can't wait to see the Fenech movie. Was that surely Paro has enough for Ola Romero at least? Yeah, I do. 100% shadow boxer. Gromitz, did you see the Colosso fight yesterday? Yes. Don't see enough people putting him on the pound-for-pound list despite his resume and entertaining style. He's around the bouts, Gromitz. Maybe yesterday's win sort of elevated him just a little bit, but I just think there's still a few in front of him, mate. But a very, very good little fighter. All right. The Kings is another of my childhood favourites about Leonard, Hagler, Hearns and Duran. It's the Four Kings, isn't it? Is that what it's called? But yeah, great. Not to be confused with When We Were Kings. Back then, I don't know. I'm sure in 30 years' time, we'll be looking back to this era and go, oh, geez, how good was Mayweather and Pacquiao and Canelo and Oscar and all the rest of them. But back then, the four kings and then when we were kings before that, wow. Yeah, Richard, did you catch the Lucas Brown bare knuckle fight? He's made for it. I loved it, Richard. I did watch it. He can go a bit, Lucas. He's a big boy, isn't he? And I don't know. I can't really watch the sport, if I'm being honest, Richard, but I did watch that one with Lucas, and you're right. He's made for it. Maybe he's found his calling. I watched the ones the other night. Well, just some highlights of it. There was a Clay Waterman. There was the Curtis Scott, the football player. I don't like to see it. I didn't like it, but Lucas Brown's I didn't mind. Was that in Sydney as well, or wherever it was, Richard? Was it Perth? No, was it somewhere was it Brisbane, Sydney, wherever it was? I'm not sure where that was. I think that was overseas, wasn't it, the Lucas Brown one? But yeah, not my cup of tea, Richard. But hey, I've got my respect, I can tell you, because that would be one of the hardest of sports to be in. Bare knuckle boxing. Wow, crazy. All right, we've got a couple more comments. JP, I don't rate money. Max McIntyre, stupid nickname, stupid haircut, hands down around his tits, and a wanker of a coach. Don't hold back there, mate. Yeah, Kid Manila, I think we're going to get rid of you. I've had enough. I don't normally like to do that, but you're upsetting our viewers, so you got to go. Your history, bud. I gave you a chance. All right, Naz. I still think Nikita should go up to middleweight. Great build-ups against Mikhailovic, Fletcher, Kamakeo, Blake Wells. Yeah, Mitch Leake said before he even goes overseas. Yeah, not a bad call, Naz. But look, if he's making £154 okay, then I suppose you've got to stay there. But I'm with you. There's some really, really good fights at 160 for him here in Australia before he goes. And what's he had, 11 or 12 fights? There's no reason why he can't have another 3 or 4 and get up to 15, 16 fights and then go. Yeah, good call, Naz. All right, Drunken. I actually think I saw Bud versus Tim odds on the Ladbrokers or whatever it was. When was it? Was it last year, wasn't it? Yeah, I'm with you, Drunken Boxing. I think after the Fundora loss, I don't think it got any further than that, because obviously then they put Tim on the undercard against Ortiz. That never happened. But yeah, well, as I said, I'm sure that Bud, while he was here, or was interviewed maybe even before he got here, saying that he wanted to fight Tim. He wanted Tim, but just couldn't all, of course, marry up. And then obviously Tim decided to fight Fundora, and the rest is history. Geez, talk about sliding door moments, eh? Can you remember a bigger corner stuff up than when the Tyson Douglas water balloon Enswell? I saw that fight again the other night. It always cracks me up, yeah. I do remember that, Drew. If you haven't, I'm sure you've seen it if you're a boxing fan, but in the corner, they didn't have an end swell. And Mike's eye started to swell, and they had a rubber glove filled with water. And they were just putting it on his eye, which would have done absolutely nothing. And it looked more stupid by them doing that. I mean, even if they had to just put the thumb across it and tried to iron it out, they obviously thought that Mike had, there's no possibility that Mike would get tagged or let alone have his eye swell up like that, but they had nothing. So yeah, I'm with you, mate. That is probably the biggest corner stuff up of all time. Oh, is that right, JP? Ferris Durrani's playing Jeff Fennick. Now, he's the one that played, what's the nightclub guy in Underbelly, wasn't he? And he was also in a couple of episodes of Mr. In Between. Okay, yeah, I'm not quite sure I see the resemblance there. Let's see if he fights okay. I'm not sure, but yeah, okay. That is the one I'm thinking of. Have you ever tried to reach out to Jeff to be on this show? We've had him on before, OG. Look, I don't like to do interviews, if I'm being honest. Of course, I've done them in the past, but it's not really my thing, which is why I get asked all the time when I'm away. I don't try and interview people. I'm not there to interview people. I'm there to document my trip. That's all. Not to be a reporter. And same as on here. We used to have a guest on every week when we used to do the weekly show with the other guys. But we had Jeff on Classic Fights. It was OG. When we used to do every week, we do a classic fight, and we did Jeff versus Azuma 2. No, sorry, the first one, Jeff versus Azuma 1 in Las Vegas. And we actually had Jeff. And if you haven't seen the episodes, it was just we'd go over the fight and what made it a classic fight. And we used to have myself and Tazzy and Peter Maniatis and Mike Altamura. And we had Jeff on as a special guest for that show. And it was great to have him on there commenting about obviously what happened from his point of view on fight night. So, yeah, I have. And I reckon we might have had him on for another interview at some other stage, mate. But, I mean, guys like Jeff, I mean, they're on every second podcast these days. And, again, it's not really my thing, mate. So I'd rather do this. I don't have to rely on anyone else. I just have to jump on, talk to you guys. The only thing I am thinking about, and I'd probably like to get your thoughts on it, is to do, even for starters, a monthly show where it is getting some other guests on, maybe 2 or 3 other guests, and just having an episode where we talk about all the different things going on in the world. I know there's a lot of podcasts like that, but just the talking points, basically the main talking points of the month, and just go through them. We might get guys like Peter Bedell and Rob Schiff, is it, from before the fight, and maybe Tszyu and all those types of guys on, and just talk about what's going on. Daniel Smart and Anthony Cox and those types of guys, where we get them on and we just simply talk boxing for an hour or two. What's going on? And there's always, especially if we do it monthly, we have, half a dozen points we can go over. But anyway, I'll let you know about that. All right, well, I think that's about it. Yeah, remember Peter Manianos had his late night boxing show on SEN. Is that right? I didn't know that, Richard. There you go. Didn't know that. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Really appreciate. Hang on, one last thing there. Big Bang. I remember Jeff Fennick getting kicked out of Coffs Harbour. Me and my mate went to see if we could meet him. Got told to F off. Okay. On that note, Big Bang, we'll call it a night. But thanks to everyone that tuned in. Make sure you watch every morning Walking Boxing. Me and my little mate Neil are out every morning, and we just walk around the neighbourhood and have a bit of a chat. Get Tim on the show, mate. I think he's booked up with about 10 other podcasts at the moment, mate. So I'm sure you've all seen him on other shows. So it doesn't make much sense to get him on and chat about stuff that you've seen him discuss 10 times in other shows. I wouldn't mind getting Glenn Jennings on, though, at some stage. So maybe we might have a chat to him. I like to go a different route. Okay, everyone wants Tim on. I wouldn't mind hearing Glenn's point of view in this type of arena. We'll see. But anyway, yeah, make sure you watch Walking Boxing every day. Some other specials coming up soon. We'll see how we go when I get a bit more time. But thanks again to everyone that's tuned in tonight. Also listening along on Spotify. And we'll catch you next time on Talking Boxing. See you then.